Welcome to the Millennial Diner podcast. We are here at the diner once again, ready to talk about a beloved album. I'm here with Phil as usual, and today we have Nadia here with us. How exciting.
Hi, Nadia.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming to the diner. I'm just going to give my order real quick to Flo. I'm going to get a black coffee. Nothing else in there. No oat milk, just the black coffee.
No oat milk?
Yeah. Just the black coffee. And then I'm going to have some just eggs scrambled. Let's make it an omelet. We'll throw some green peppers in there. I mean, did they have black peppers? Because I'd like some black peppers in mine. And I would also enjoy an English muffin with some, let's go with black raspberry preserves on it. That's kind of what I'm feeling today.
You're so goth today.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Nadia, what are you going to have?
I will have some tofu chilaquiles, please.
Nice.
And I will also have black coffee, even though I don't drink black coffee. I want to be on theme.
There you go. Phil?
Bit of rye toast. It's like this much butter. Maybe this much, because I feel gluttonous today.
Wow.
And black coffee. That sounds close. Just keep the thread going there.
Yeah, and then for the people who are just listening to this on Spotify, Phil indicated how much butter he was going to have with his two fingers. He started with a little. He went to a lot because he's gluttonous.
Yeah. If you can imagine a quarter inch to an inch, that's a lot of butter for one piece of toast.
That is a lot. But you are having the black coffee. That's the important.
I am. I'm going to keep with the black coffee. This is a very on-point thing to do today.
It is. But
I'm going to put some of the butter in the coffee.
Oh,
It's like a thing now.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Mayonnaise? Yeah.
That seems.
Football player. I think he's a college football player kid who puts mayo in his coffee.
I don't like that.
I don't know where to go with that. I feel like that's like you're making something bitterer with mayonnaise. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Is mayonnaise bitter?
Isn't mayonnaise bitter? Like, no, I guess it's kind of a sweet thing. I take that. Yeah.
Sour, no?
I don't even know how I would describe the flavor of mayonnaise now that we're talking about it. Like, what is it? It's like a consistency.
It's just a tactile thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe. How do you describe the taste of mayonnaise? Eggy thing.
Eggy. I guess it would be savory. This opens a whole other conversation of what is sweet and what is savory.
I've been described as both, but
Yeah, you have. That's yeah.
Phil especially has called me both. Not to switch gears too fast here, but I actually have beef this week. I'm coming in hot. I'm coming in hot.
Coming in hot. What is? Oh, wait. I need to hold on. I prepare with I need some coffee first.
Yeah, you're gonna need coffee for this. Black coffee for this.
All right, let's go.
My beef is with the 1972 Academy Awards.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
That happened so long ago.
Yeah, I know, but it's been really bothering me lately. 1972 Best Picture went to The Godfather. And I don't know. I feel like, it's just another American dynasty family succession story of gangsters. We all love those kind of stories, right? That's very American.
American.
But he only won the Best Picture, and I'm like, well, what won everything else that year? And there was a film called Cabaret. I don't know if anybody's ever seen this movie.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. The Liza Minnelli tour de force. This movie is fantastic. And I feel like it's gotten lost in history because Godfather's always on the list of like best movies of all time. But like Cabaret won 8 Oscars that year, won Best Director, Best Actress, Best Support, like everything except for Best Picture. So I'm like, what the heck happened? Anyway, I'm really upset about it. I recently saw Cabaret, and I thought it was a fantastic film. It's dealing with difficult subject matters, at the rise of fascism, people trying to accept themselves and their sexuality. It's fantastic, and it's got song and dance numbers in it.
Yep.
Which I think is very
Severed horse head in it.
Does not have a severed horse head.
Well, I mean, think of who were the voters back then.
I guess people who hated horses.
And very maybe violent men.
Well, that's the thing, right? Well, I think that's where it comes down to. It's like, I feel like Cabaret got lost because it's not the machismo movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably kind of the thing now where weird alpha males, I'm doing quotes, air quotes, don't think that like drag is an art form. And it's,
Right.
dude, it is the most joyous art form that you just need to like accept into your life. Not to like, you know, be like a Mormon missionary about it, but I just love drag. But yeah, maybe they were just like, you know, this is making me feel things. Liza Minnelli's very talented. It makes me want to like take tap and jazz lessons.
Yeah. I that's how I felt. I mean, I was a changed person. I think it was a fantastic film, and I'm really bitter that it did not win Best Picture in 1972.
So if you got like a time machine and you had to go back, you wouldn't do anything like huge that would super alter the course of time except fix who wins Best Picture in 72.
Yeah, it's the one thing I would do if I had a time machine, and I think the world would be a better place for it.
Okay, I'm into it.
Yeah, but you know, Liza Minnelli, you know, is an icon. I feel like over the years she's had some pop culture moments of amazingness. I don't know if you all remember Muppets Take Manhattan. There's a critical scene where Kermit goes to Sardi's, that restaurant with all the caricatures, because he wants to get his Broadway show up and running. So he puts up his caricature behind him, so it looks like he's an important, big-time producer. But he takes down Liza Minnelli's picture, and wouldn't you know it, as soon as she walks in, she notices her picture was taken down and blows up the whole thing. So that's Liza Minnelli, number one, pop culture. Number two, her performance as Lucille 2 in Arrested Development, absolutely classic. She had vertigo. She was hilarious.
Loss. It's his loss.
Oh, perfect. And then the third and probably most important pop culture contribution is her appearance on the 2006 My Chemical Romance album, The Black Parade.
No, that should be number one.
It should be number one. I didn't even know that was her. Until honestly a few years back where I was like, that was Liza Minnelli. And then I find that fascinating that she was on this album. Weird guest star.
Is it though? Because here's the thing, and I'm not just a crazy person who gets upset about Oscars from 50 years ago. Maybe I am, but
I think you are. No, I think
a little bit.
that would be.
But
That's still true.
When I saw Cabaret, I thought about the Black Parade. There's something like, I don't know what the connective tissue is exactly, but there's something about there's the MC, the Master of Ceremonies character, who's like leading the show and for whatever reason, I see that as, I believe his name is Pepe, our little skeleton friend, who I'm showing on YouTube behind me.
Yep.
Because he's the band leader, right? So
right.
In a way, the Master of Ceremonies. So I started like kind of making this connection between Cabaret and the Black Parade. And because I think for me, when I first heard the Black Parade, I was like, this is a Broadway show. Like it should be. If it's presented as a entire rock opera, I guess is what we would call it. But to me, it's like there is this character, there's a storyline, and it's bombastic at times, and it's ups and downs, and it's sad, and it gives you hope. It got all these things. So my question is, where is my Black Parade Broadway show?
That would be so amazing. I want to be in it.
Yeah.
I mean, people have said that the Black Parade is like American Idiot in style, which sure, whatever. But I don't like Green Day. Sorry.
Whoa, shots fired.
Shot is fired.
I wouldn't be like really excited if someone was like, do you want to go see American Idiot? I'm like, nah. But if someone was like, do you want to go see the Black Parade? I'd be like, I already saw it 19 times. I'd love to see it again.
You've been to all the previews already.
Yeah. I would.
And you're in the show, so you're literally up on stage for part of it, and you run to the seats and watch the rest of it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if I wasn't cast in the show, why wouldn't I be? I would probably like sneak into the rehearsals or like get a job at the theater as like a custodian of some kind, just so I could be there. They would be incredible. I don't know how they would do it, but I would just be like, I need to watch every moment of this production.
Yeah, I think it's all there. I think the album aesthetically creates all the visuals you kind of need to start off with, right? Like for this album, I feel like for this album, My Chemical Romance, this was kind of like their ascension to what they were always meant to be in a lot of ways, like this theatrical experience with the marching band suits, and everything about it was just like, oh, this is an experience. It's not just a record, you know, especially in this scene of the punk emo world. This was really kind of like a statement, I feel like, that this is what this band can do.
Did you ever listen to Nadia's Shadow from Forgive Durden?
No, I haven't.
Have not.
Oh, it's also an emo musical, and I think this was heavily inspired that one, and it has like Sean from the Matches, it has Chris Conley and Alex Bemis and like all these people, and it's just a emo. Oh, Brendan Urie is the villain.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is like very heavily copy paste from the Black Parade. So like this was influential in a big way. Big way.
Wow. So before we dive into the album, Nadia, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with the scene, the My Chemical Romance, and all?
Welcome to my life. Well, I wasn't really into rock music as a child. I was like, my parents were into like glam rock and disco and
Cool.
like R&B oldies and stuff. And so I was just kind of I was into what was like super popular at the time, which were like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Britney Spears and stuff. And then in 8th grade, my friend Steve Yodes let me borrow his CD case I had a road trip coming up. He's like, just listen to like all of them all the way through. And I got to the 3rd CD, which was Sugar Cult Start Static. And I didn't listen to any other CDs. I was like, this is the music for me. And so I started to get really into Sugar Cult and going to see them at like, I think my first punk show was Sugar Cult, Less Than Jake, Slick Shoes, and Yellow Card, like very early on, like 2002 or 3.
That's a sick show.
That is a sick show.
Awesome. And my mom came and she was like protecting me from the crowd. It was very sweet. And then I started to get really involved in like the local scene and seeing like the Matches and Divot and just like really getting into the idea that like, oh, this is a community. I didn't really have that in the suburbs of the Bay Area. I was just like, this is cool. Everybody likes the same stuff. Nobody at my school really did. So then I started to go online, and that's where it was like, I found everything that I ever wanted. And this one guy that I met in high school had Early Sunsets Over Monroeville lyrics in his AIM profile. And I had a crush on him. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I got to know what this is so we could talk about it. So I copy and pasted it in Google, like early days of Google, and it popped up. Their MySpace popped up. And I was just like, oh my God, this is like nothing I'd ever heard. It was so different from the pop punk stuff I was listening to. Because it was Early Sunsets and then Demolition Lovers. And I was like, this song is so long and so insane. And like, I'm like deeply impacted by this. And so I started to just like follow MCR around just online. Like nobody in my real life knew what the heck I was talking about. But I found like live journal communities, MySpace, message boards, and like just going to shows and meeting people was just the most fun ever. And I saw MCR at Warped. Like the first time they did it, it was like a side stage and nobody was there. It was just like me and like 4 other people. And then people started to like show up, but I was just like, how does nobody know who this band is? And then they immediately blew up because of I'm Not Okay. But like Bullets era MCR was just like, they were just also really great and made the crowd more inclusive than I had ever experienced. And they like really took care of us, especially the women in the crowd. It was a really cool experience to have when you were like 15, 16 years old.
No, that's cool. I mean, it's, you know, it's funny, like when I first discovered them, it was a lot of a similar thing where like they just were different than everybody else. Like and as you're saying, like in a very toxic music scene,
Yeah.
they were like very much upfront about like none of that bullshit. Like that's not what we're here for. And the inclusivity, I think, and we'll get back to this album is a lot about this too. It's they knew who they were trying to reach. They were trying to reach kids who maybe were trying to find their place and trying to find their people, and they kind of like were, you know, the band leader for that, right? Like they really bring in this like collective of like artsy kids and socially awkward kids and like, you know, goth kids and the emo kids. Like it's like a melting pot of all this kind of like, I guess like outsider feelings and having a place to go. When I first saw them, so what my first experience with them, a friend of mine had burned a bunch of albums, and Bullets was one of the albums. And I had a 5-disc CD changer in my trunk of my crappy Saturn, and it was raining that day, and I'm driving, and I don't know which albums are back there because I just got a bunch of like new bands, and Bullet starts playing, and the first song, you know, Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us, like I was like, what is this? And then Vampires Will Never Hurt You came on, and I pulled over into the mall because I had to find out what band I was listening to. Ran to my trunk. It's pouring rain. I pull out the CD and I saw which one it was. I'm like, My Chemical Romance. This is the band. And the rain ended up ruining my CD player. So my CD player didn't work anymore.
Oh no.
So
Oh no.
yeah, but it was okay. It was worth it because from that, then I was like, who is this band? And very quickly I saw they were opening for Finch and the Used at Irving Plaza in New
Again,
York.
another crazy show, right?
Crazy show.
that
And
is
My Chemical Romance was just the opener. So I
Mm.
went, and at this point I've been to so many shows. I felt like an A&R person who was like discovering the next big thing. Like they came on stage and I was like, what is happening right now? Who is this band? Because they just stood out. They had whatever, they had it, you know, and you could tell. And it was just like, oh, I'm gonna follow this band everywhere they go. Like from that moment forward.
Yeah. It's so weird to think because that's like their first album that was out, and it was like not super polished, but I was just like, no, but it's the substance of it. Amazing.
You can hear the bones of like Jeff, like what you said, everything that what they are, what this album, Mike for Black Parade, did for them really showcased what they could do. And Bullets is a great way to, in the 3 years, you see it progressing both times. I think it's funny because now that you brought up that they were the MySpace, like that's how the MC Army got built up, was through their MySpace page. Like that is how it got. They were like the first band that I know of who fully embraced online interaction with their fans. And because it was online, like you were saying, you know, being in the burbs of the Bay Area, you had this opportunity to meet and talk with other fans in other parts of the country, which I feel was a very novel thing back then.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Jeff, why is the CD player in the trunk? Like, why was that a thing? Why was that a thing?
I don't know why. I don't. First of all, I'm having. This is off topic, but like I realize I don't have a CD player at all anymore. Like anywhere in my life.
Yeah,
I don't know. I may be able to play CDs on the PlayStation. I don't know. But
I have to buy a Barbie boombox to listen to mine.
I mean, I would like to buy a Barbie boombox just to have, but if it actually functions and plays CDs, that's fantastic too.
It's super fun. I think just back in the day, this is like aging us, but you probably have a kind of more modern car than the rest of us because I only had a tape deck, so I had to put the CD player that I had that like I had to replace the batteries for with the little tape deck adapter.
The tape deck thing.
Tape deck adapter, yeah.
So yours was definitely like, you were like very modern for our time.
Well, I was, except I had that CD player installed to my car because I had the tape deck. That's why it was in the trunk, Phil. That's where
I find that's the most ass backwards way of putting it. Hold on, guys. Let me switch out CDs, and then you got to pull over, pop the trunk.
those are 5-disc changers.
That's why there's 5. You come ahead before you take off.
Yeah, you got to plan it. You got to plan ahead, Bill. And then when you do pull off the side of the road to discover this band who's going to change your life, and the rain gets into your CD player, it breaks it. But it doesn't matter because you got My Chemical Romance now. So what else do you need?
It's very funny that you say this because I've had a lot of car experience with MCR experiences. The day I got my driver's license, I drove to school and I was listening to the back end of Three Cheers, which is my personal favorite. And I was like singing and dancing so loud that I overshot my parking situation and I hit a parked car. And I was just like, this is the first day I have my license. I was singing too hard to MCR. Like something is not right. But I was just like, it's okay. It's just like a life experience. I cried. I didn't drive for a couple weeks. And I got back in the car, played the same song, and like changed the vibe for myself. But now every time I hear track 12 on Three Cheers, I'm like, this is my car crash song.
That's amazing.
They've always been part of my life.
It's funny how like music, a singular song would be a very visceral thing, and it harkens back to so like for me it's Helena, because that's my introduction is Three Cheers. I remember Jeff telling me, he was like, you go listen to this album, and I was, or this band. He didn't even give me an album, he just gave me a band. He gave me 2 bands the same day. You gave me Gaslight and MCR, and you were like, just go listen to them. And I was like, okay, because at this point I had already moved to the great tiny state of New Hampshire. And like it's kind of hard to find stores that have said things, so I had to like dig online, and there it is. And I listened to it, and it's just the opening up was like this like quiet whisper, and it's like the little flick of the guitar. I'm like, what is this? And then it went on from there. And then when this album came out, I was like, okay, I actually think, hot take, as a rock opera, I'm gonna say it's better than the one that came out 2 years prior to that, which was American Idiot.
Yeah.
Agreed. Big time agreed. I don't like
I
Green
just-
Day, though. I've said this twice. I'm gonna get so much hate.
That's right. All letters of hate can be sent to me in New Hampshire. That's
yeah.
right. I take it all. I'm the complaint department.
Exactly. We send the letters to Phil in New Hampshire about Nadia growing up in the Bay Area and hating Green Day. How is that even possible?
How is that possible?
I think I was just overexposed to Green Day. It
Mm.
was just constant. It's kind of like how I feel about Taylor Swift now. It's constant. Leave me alone. I'm so sorry. Oh no, Green Day and Taylor Swift have like the biggest fan base ever. I'm so sorry. I'll leave. I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
No, I just want to book a Taylor Swift Green Day show now is what I want.
No, I will not be going to that. I think I was just really overexposed to it, and because I hadn't understood the concept of selling out, I thought that they had sold out, and I was just like, fuck Green Day. Like, they were from the Bay Area. They were awesome. They were like, Berkeley's guys, and now they're these huge guys making a bunch of money. And I thought that they had sold out, but I've read sellouts, and now I know that it was actually a really good thing that happened. But at the time, you're 14, 15, and you're hearing Green Day all the time on the radio. It's just like, I've had enough.
It's such a good book.
It's great.
It's so good. And well, there is that connection of Green Day to My Chemical Romance in the producer, right? Rob Cavullo.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, he was like
And they
instrumental
toured with them beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. And like, so there is a direct line. I think that book, which we mention like every week, I think on the show.
I think at least almost every week we end up bringing that book in.
Dan Ozzie Sellout. It's a very important work of writing that goes along with everything we talk about. But yeah, there's a direct line. They're also both on Warner Brothers. Like, and I think that book maybe really says it, where you kind of like, if Green Day broke in '94 and My Chemical Romance broke a decade later, right? 2004. So it really is kind of like the bookends of this whole period. But it's okay that you don't like Green Day. We won't hold it against you.
I haven't revisited it since my early 20s, so I could do that. I could do it. I could do it for this podcast. Like, I'll be like, this was a growth moment situation for me. I used to hate Green Day when I was 12. Now I love it. 20 years later.
Hey, we discover things as we get older.
Yeah.
We rediscover things and see things differently. But today we'll be diving into the Black Parade. I don't know about the rest of you. Sometimes when we listen to an album and I'm like, oh, I haven't listened to this album in a long time. That's not true with Black Parade. I listen to it all the time still.
Yeah.
All the time still. I think I listened as recently as last week.
Yeah.
And then excluding for this prepping for the show. Last week. I think I had it on last week. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the only CD that's always in my CD player, because when I got the album, I got the Velvet Box
Ooh.
set.
Ooh.
And it didn't come with a CD case. It just came in the Velvet Box. And so I have that with all of my other like band merch and autographs and things in this trunk, my punk trunk.
Punk
but
trunk.
I have nowhere to put that
Puncture.
CD, so it's just constantly in my car. And there was a period where for like a month the CD player wouldn't eject anything, so it was just in there. So it's just part of my life since that CD came out and I had a car.
It's one with your car. Your car does not
It is
exist
one.
without it. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, and my car is white, so it just like goes with the aesthetic of it all.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
Connects.
I don't know about you, but one of the things why I listen to this album constantly to this day is every time I listen to it, it doesn't feel old. It always feels fresh. There's something about it that's like, it always feels brand new in some way. And I don't have enough music theory to understand what happened with this album, but it feels like it just is like so well produced. It's so many different kinds of songs. There's so much going on guitar wise throughout the album. Like you can literally like focus on different elements every time you listen to it.
Yeah, the drums are incredible. Bob Breyer was a real one, even though we don't like him as a person in the fandom, but he was a real one. Those drum, oh my God, the fills that he does, it's just so complicated. And you would think that if you have complicated drums, complicated guitars, it would just clash, but it just really does not. It's really musically amazing, and you do find something new every time you listen.
I know I did. Actually, I found something new. Right in the first song, which we can get to.
Oh, what did you discover?
So I'm gonna go on a weird limb for a second.
Perfect.
Because that's me, that's where I would like to go. So I was reading over the lyrics of The End, and now I'm talking about the end, which is the beginning. So we're gonna talk about the end.
Song number one.
Song number one, The End. Right? Such a great way to come in. He wrote it apparently. I actually learned this. This is what the other thing I learned, I guess, that it's a very In the Flesh Pink Floyd opening to the album, and I was like, oh, that's a nice parallel because I feel like that's a really good thing. Here's my hot take. I think in the lyrics, he references every other song that's coming in a word or two.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, like I was reading it, and I was like, nah, and I'm like, okay, some might be a stretch, but I was like, So, for example, the next song, number two, the second song is Dead, and there's a lyric about a tragic affair. He talks about this is how it disappear. He talks about makeup. Maybe perhaps that's how he would disappear. Sharpest lives. It's about friends going out. We could talk about piggies. The Black Parade is a funeral jack. I don't love you anymore. It's about walking away. House of Wolves. Something you're not. Cancer could be the resignation. The mama could be the black dress. Sleep could be the mirror because there's part of that in the teenagers. There's a grow up section. Disenchanted, that's the penitence ball.
Yep.
And then famous last words were we're gonna make you smile. I encourage your smile, and I expect you won't cry.
Wow.
Yeah, we can end now. That was incredible.
Like, is that batshit crazy or what? Like, I just was thinking about it. I'm like, is there any way I just pull this out of my ass? Or is this like knowing Gerard? There's a chance.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Well, isn't that like, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is Shakespearean. Like, don't they like tell you the whole story of Romeo and Juliet in the first,
Right, the opening soliloquy of Romeo and Juliet, you get the whole story. Yeah.
And this is a show, right? We're here. This is the introduction to the tragic affair. Like this is the intro song laying out to you what you're about to experience, which I never thought of it that way. And like, I love this. I love this theory. I love this hot take. Take it to the bank.
That's my theory. So I'm running with it.
I'm so impressed. You should actually go on the Genius website and make annotations for every single reference. I think everyone would appreciate that.
Can I do that? Is that like allowed? Is it like Wikipedia? Is Genius like Wikipedia? Is it just the same thing?
Yeah, I think you just need to have an account. I'm someone who does read the like Genius annotations, and there are people who are like, this is speculation, or this was confirmed in an interview. And I feel like this is a very lovely interpretation that Gerard maybe would be like, this is actually true.
You're gonna get letters of applause from the NC Army, Gerard. They're all gonna write you positive letters to New Hampshire.
It'll balance out the hate you'll get from hating Green Day.
It'd be very strange to get love mail from to New Hampshire instead of the angry complaint stuff I usually get.
Dear
This is
Phil,
amazing.
thank you for understanding my vision. G.
Yeah, right. Like if Gerard was like, yeah, you like I got pinged on Instagram, like he was like, yeah, good job. I'd be like, you gotta be kidding me. Like I was just like, I read this at like 6 o'clock on a Monday morning, and it was kind of like, maybe this works, maybe it works, maybe it
That was a
doesn't work.
very millennial reference of you to say ping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's my age right there coming out. I'm gonna
Oh,
let's go.
You're not Gen Z?
Me, Gen Z? No.
Wait, how do you guys feel about the term elder emo? Since we are talking about technically our generation's like Pink Floyd The Wall. Like how do you feel about being an elder emo? Or even just the name?
I mean, I find it freeing because I don't have to act like I'm like, oh no, I'm listening to music for 14-year-olds. Because you have to understand, this is more about me. I listen to all music like I am a 14-year-old girl. Like that's how I enjoy it and obsess with it and take it in. But as an elder emo, I don't have to, I don't have to act like the 14-year-old girl. I can just be like, well, I'm an elder emo who enjoys music like a 14-year-old girl.
That's cool. I still act kind of like a 14-year-old girl that shows. But then I'm super sore the next day. And I'm like, oh, I did not stretch. I should have stretched.
I kind of like being the elder statesman. Like I appreciate that. Like I've got the gray hair and scars to show I've been to shows. I love my favorite odd flex is when they're like, oh, this, this, like, do you see Take It Back Sunday? But yeah, I saw them in a church basement.
Cool.
Yeah, and they're always like, and I'm like, oh yeah, with Dashboard and like Alkaline Trio, like.
Oh yeah, you guys grew up in the East Coast, like right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, we were in the middle of it. Like that with all these bands, and My Chemical Romance was kind of the same thing. Like I saw them, they were just this band from Jersey.
This random band from Jersey. Yeah.
And like I blinked my eyes and all of a sudden they were like, I think what was the Helena video, really. Once that hit, it was like, oh wow, this isn't just some local band. This is like the it band right now. Yeah. Which is crazy. That happened to everybody.
We had Your Remnants. So like bands that like either didn't do that well because of the rivalries, like Brand New. Like Brand New is huge here in LA, which like not anymore because we all know what happened. But like when that whole Taking Back Sunday rivalry with Brand New thing happened, Brand New came to California way more often than Taking Back Sunday did. And like if you were a Brand New fan, you were not a Taking Back Sunday fan. And I was someone who was just like, I really like both. I don't really want to pick. So I had to kind of hide my allegiance and just go see them. But I like to think we didn't really have, in our generation of emo, we didn't really have like the aesthetic part of it that I think Gen Z has.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like they have the community because they're all kind of on TikTok for the most part.
Right.
Like they can find people through hashtags, but we had to actually go to the shows. And it wasn't so much about like wearing the right outfit, except for, not wearing the shirt of the band that you're going to see. That was like our only rule.
Unless it's a vintage one.
Like
I wore my vintage Movie Life shirt to a rather recent Movie Life show.
Yes.
And Vinny even pointed it out. He looked at it because you could see it was like, because it was like, some dude buying the show, like the shirt, same shirt. And Vinny kind of pointed at it and he was like, you can see little flecks of missing color. I'm like, yes, this is an old shirt.
That's amazing. Yeah, like I think we were lucky to get to experience it that way. I think it's really cool that they have like all this information available to them. I don't know what I would have done at that age if I had that much information available to me. Or I probably would have just focused on like the aesthetic of it, which that's not what it's about, kids. Please relax. But anyway, I'm just fascinated by the whole generational gap between the kids who are now into MCR and the elder emos who are into it. Because like the Tumblr fandom is very intense to the point where like Frank had a family event where one of his cousins or his brother or something opened a tattoo parlor, and the fandom is so intense and scary that he had to be like, please don't make this weird. This isn't about me. I'm just going to be there. So can you guys just like be chill? I was just like, yeah, this is wild. It's pretty crazy. There's also like people who camp out now because I mean they don't work, they're kids, so they camp out and they do like a number system for MCR, for LS Dunes, for any of like their side projects, and they get like mad at people who don't like line up at the barricade by their number on their hands.
Oh
And I'm like,
wow.
this would not fly in 2005. Like,
Oh no, you just
No,
you
no.
put stuff to the front and that's it. Like there's
Yeah.
no.
yeah, really weird. I'm very glad we got the experience we got. TBH.
I agree. I mean, I'm sure again, like if it gets people to the music, it's in the music. Like it was really, I think Nadia, you were there too. We got to go to the return show in 2019, the LA show where they just kind of like were like, okay, we're back after a long hiatus. And I remember Gerard asking like, how many people here are at their first My Chemical Romance show, and it was like 80% of the people there.
Was
And
it really? Wow.
yeah, I was like, whoa, they've happened again.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole new fan base who never got to experience them at all because they were too young or when they were around, and now they're all like, you know.
I only wish I had seen. So I've seen MCR, but only in a big venue, or big-ish venue. I would have loved to have seen it in a small one. Like first time I saw them was actually for the Black Parade tour. Jeff, I'm going to ask you a question. Where did the first concert for that tour take place?
Inside my heart.
Very close. It actually was New Hampshire. It was actually the show I went to was the first show of the Black Parade tour. I didn't know that.
Wow, you're
Uh,
the first
You
Black
were the
Parade
first
show.
one to see.
I got to
Gerard
see the
get
first
pulled
one.
out in the gurney.
Oh my gosh. So like, yeah, he came out and then they're all the whole show. They're all wearing the marching band costume. And when so they finally wrap up, they do the whole album, start to finish. And then Gerard takes off the coat. He's like, get this fucking jacket off of me, whips it off. And then they go into about 7 or 8 songs from all the other albums, which was super cool. But yeah, that was the first one was in Manchester, New Hampshire, at the arena there. And they played with Rise Against. That was my first interaction with Rise Against, which wasn't great because the feedback was so bad you could barely hear the band. It was terrible. I felt bad.
Were you in the crowd? Are you someone who pushes to the front, or are you?
Not that time because my wife was with me.
Okay.
So we stayed at the back. I felt kind of that was probably the first time I felt old because I actually went with the seat versus the pit.
Yes.
And now I've learned I actually kind of like the seat a little more because as an elder emo, I'd like to take a sit every once in a while, maybe a water break, enough to get not get slammed against the wall anymore. I think those days are. I'm okay with them. I'm okay with them being done.
Yeah.
Look, it's important to hydrate.
Exactly.
Hydrate.
I like a mid-sized theater because the VIP section is just 21 and older, so it's just people's parents and me. That's fun. I like that a lot. I did that with Panic at the Disco for the Vices and Virtues tour. It was great.
That does sound nice, actually. And then you can, and I look upon, dear parent, look upon your child's future. It's me.
Yeah, it's not a phase, Mom.
It's really not.
It's not a phase. I've been doing this for a very long time, guys. No, not a phase. Not a phase.
Well, you mentioned the live tour for this album was very much taking the album and bringing it on its feet, and it was theatrical. As we said, Gerard gets wheeled out in a gurney to start the song at the end. How do you guys, as we get into this album, do we want to talk about like the overarching narrative as much, or do you want to go song by song? Because like there is definitely a story, right? That's
right. There is.
There's a character called the Patient who's our main character, who Gerard is basically portraying during the concerts of this. And it's like the end is kind of the opening, which lets us know that like this journey is about to go on. And the other thing about this album, it's really a meditation on death. And it's a heavy topic, which I think is fascinating that a pop punk band or emo band made this epic musical rock opera, and it's really dealing with death. Like, and I don't know, I always thought that was a big swing, and I feel like they're one of the few bands who could pull it off and make this like very polished meditation on death. What do you think about that whole story?
It's the Catholicism.
Yeah. Always there.
If you grow up Catholic, like the aesthetic is always there, and it's constantly what you talk about death from like the minute you can remember anything. So it's like, your first communion, you talk about receiving the body of Christ because he died for you. So like if that doesn't mess you up as a child and make you think about death all the time, then like you didn't really grow up Catholic for real. And I feel like Gerard, it talks about it so much that it's like it's unavoidable to talk about it if you are affected by it, like traumatized by it. I'm assuming based on how this album is, it's like that was probably very traumatic for Gerard. He's also very sensitive and sweet, it might have been really hard.
She's Nadia's 100% on the Catholicism part. Yeah, it's like baked into your soul that like one day you're gonna die. You're gonna die for your sins. I'm like, well, I didn't ask him to. Thanks so much.
Well, as a child, did you go to a church that had like a giant crucifix with Jesus like on it? Like I've seen
it was
those.
bloody as hell.
Yeah, like
it's very goth.
Yeah, it is. But like, how do you like? What do they say to children when they walk into the church the first time and like they're like, what's that man on the cross and he's dead?
Well, one, you don't say anything because you're told very early, don't say a word. Don't question anything.
Got
it. Never question a thing. But it is true. It is, and I don't think I ever really thought about that in that perspective. But you're right. It's like it's something that's constantly brought up. Because the whole point of everything is to get into heaven, which is an interesting thing. Because in one of the songs they talk about they goes like, "Am I going to get into heaven, or is it going to be more end up in hell?"
Yeah.
Based on how this dude lived, I'm going to go with I'm going to say the latter, because I think I said hell second. So, it just even talks about that. But it's definitely, death is what I like about it. This is it's a honest look, an introspective look at one's life.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very interesting and a very grown-up thing for a younger band to have done.
Yeah, because you're right, because it is that, because this song opens up with the hospital monitor, the heart monitor, it's beeping, right?
Right.
And we're getting the intro. So it's called The End, but it's letting us know that someone's alive because the heart rate monitor is going, right? And once we get through this song, what's the first thing that happens?
You're dead.
Dead, and we get the flatline sound, right? It's opening. Right. So
what a great transition, by the way.
It's so good. And then also just the dead, the tone of Dead, the song is so like rocking and so like just like it's dancey and like upbeat, and it's like I love that juxtaposition of like, and then we can talk about this a little bit more about what's actually happening to this character, because for a while I thought maybe he did die here, and then sometimes I think maybe he isn't dead yet, but he's being told that he's definitely going to die now, and he's got to get prepared for that. So I go back and forth on that interpretation. But the point is, you have this song about someone dying, and it's this upbeat and like you just want to dance.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is I can get it from the Catholicism lens a little more. I don't know if it's very obvious, but I grew up like Catholic because my grandma was I come from a Mexican family. My grandma was like very also superstitious. And in that generation, they believed that a lot of their superstitions was the religion. It's like, no, this is like not at all like ghosts and all that stuff. Like that is not at all like about what we're learning about in the Bible. But it's funny that Dead as like this jaunty song, because it's like that's kind of what this has all been for. Like you're working really hard and are punished during your lifetime so that, and you're sinning and all that stuff, so that when you die, it's like, yay, I'm dead and I'm in heaven and this is awesome. But like, this is not the direction that this album goes in, because Mama, track 9, but like, yeah, like it's kind of even, those weird puritanical people that are in their government right now, they're just like, yeah, life is suffering and we're going to make you suffer, but we are doing it so that we all go to heaven, and like the rapture and like all this stuff. Like, isn't that great? It's like, dude, that is so bleak and sad.
Yeah.
I like enjoy your life now, but like, that's kind of what you're taught for so long. It's like, well, you're sinning. You're a sinner. That's like who you are. But when you're dead, when you're dead, it's gonna be totally fine. It's gonna be great.
Which I always found funny because I was like, you think it's sad that I think that I'm like, I'd rather live now and and enjoy what I got now versus later. I find that
Well,
sad.
if you do, you're just gonna go and burn for
Yeah.
eternity.
I won't be alone. A lot of my friends will be there.
Yeah, everyone has a tattoo.
There you go. Yeah, but like Dead is funny. It's a funny song. So I think a character dies. I think the patient dies. I do think that either dies or let's get real crazy. Maybe he's having what I've always heard is the death dream.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you're in that moment before you die, and you have the really crazy dream of your life. Looking back, it's the, the what do they call it?
The light flashes before your life.
Yeah,
Flashes before your eyes. Yeah.
right, yeah, your life flashing before your eyes, the death dream. Then you go back, and I think that might make more sense now that I'm working my way through it. That's what is happening. So, like when he dies, in between the first and second songs, and I air quoted, folks at home. Sorry, I neglected to tell you guys some things from time to time, so I'll work on that. But I think he dies, or he's going when the whole story is probably the death dream, and then he's not officially dead yet until famous last words because of the title. And that's the only reason why I've got to that is because the title is famous last words, and Jeff knows titles are always clues, or they should be if they're not so on the nose, but they should always be a clue to what's the point of the song. So that's how I think. I think it's a death dream. The whole album's a death dream.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And again, now if I'm directing the Broadway musical at this point, I think our little skeleton marching band guy is the one who shows up and is like, "Hello, you're dead," and it's great. He's got a very kind of like I don't know, a Jack Skellington vibe to him.
I was just imagining, like, 'cause you already brought up Cabaret. So now I'm thinking of what's his name, Joel Grey, the MC. But basically as a skeleton.
Yeah.
Well, that's who it is, right? Like he's the master of ceremonies of this trip to the dead, becoming dead. This is
Trip to the dead. I like that better.
This is your guide, right? This is your who's the Greek mythology who the river Styx? You got the person who brings you on the raft to the underworld.
Oh,
doesn't matter.
I don't know. They weren't in Hercules, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. So
Hades, isn't it Hades?
Well, Hades is in
Hades.
Hercules.
Yeah. Okay.
And he lives down there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, Charon. I don't know. Someone write a letter to Phil with
Karen. It's Karen. Charon. Karen. You're right.
Yeah. Acheron.
Sharon. Yeah.
Sharon.
Anyway, if we're getting this wrong, just send letters to Phil explaining the correct pronunciation of all this for us.
He's all clearly did not read Percy Jackson books.
I mean, I skimmed them.
I have not. I'm not even gonna pretend. I have not.
A Percy Jackson kid. Sorry.
I tried to get my son into it. My son was having nothing. It was funny. I think that book series came out like in between our two lives, and like he was not an adopter of it.
Oh, what's he into now? How old is he now? Am I allowed to ask?
Sure. He's 14. What is he into? Mostly anime.
Cool.
Nice.
He's gotten away from book reading, which much to my chagrin. However, he did really enjoy Ready Player One and Armada. He also did enjoy those.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. That's a fun age to be into anime. Maybe
you could.
It's a good one.
It's a hot mix. What's available nowadays? I know when I was younger, anime in various forms came in. Well, various forms, obviously, but the ability to get those various forms of anime were a lot harder than it is nowadays. So I'm always concerned.
123videos.com.
Well, I used to work in a comic book store, and that was the shit that was below the counter. You had to ask for it, which really must have been embarrassing for the people who would come up like, "Can I see the things down below?" And I always be like, "My sneakers." What? Yeah, what do you want
to? That's amazing.
Not anymore.
Yeah, always left for an awkward 5 seconds with that one. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to Japan. I have been. And if you go to Tokyo and you go to the anime district, you have all these stores with all this anime stuff. But the basement is the naughty anime stuff. Don't go down there. Don't let your
Gotcha.
kids down there.
Don't let your kids down there, but don't kink shame the hentai fans, friend.
No, no, no. I'm just saying keep the kids down there, but take a look for yourself.
No king shaming. No king shaming. Just make sure you're of a legal age in which
That's
to
it.
do it.
Exactly.
There we go. There we
I
go.
just-
Love it.
Let's
I think
make
the
sure
Black
it's.
Parade would be a really cool animated series.
Oh, I think so too.
Oh, it would. That's a good point.
Well, immediately, I don't know. Did you guys watch Death Note? That anime series?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's
No, I'm too scared.
oh, it's awesome. It's scary, but yeah, but like basically, there is like thematical connections to My Chemical Romance in there a little bit, so we can talk about it. But basically, it's like this guy gets a book. It's called the Death Note, and whatever you write in it will kill the person. Whatever you say, like Phil, stop breathing, and then I write that down. And then Phil, you'd stop breathing and die.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Which is a great power to have, right? And at first he wants to like just kill off all the bad people in the world, all like the criminals and things like that. You also get a giant demon who hangs out with you. Who doesn't really say much, but he's kind of there watching you because I don't know. Anyway, you should check it out.
There's a lot going on in this. Like
There is.
Very scary.
goodness, it's like a hodgepodge of things right there.
I mean, it's confirmation that just the idea of death, and because we don't know much about it, it's fun to explore.
Exactly.
And in MCR's case, it was like they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna make one of our best albums of all time. Great.
Yeah. And as we talk about death, just one more thing on this song before we move on. There is the line that he says, because now you got maybe 2 weeks to live. That was the other reason why I was like, I'm wondering if
That's a good point.
that's where I go back and forth on it. Because like now I feel like, and if we take it like this, and he's been given his death sentence, as it were, from Pepe, the marching band skeleton leader, played by Joel Grey. So that kind of tells me that all the songs we're about to hear is kind of like that journey that he's going on as he reaches the end.
See, okay, so what I like that. I think what I'll do with that is the 2 weeks to live, because I think every song after the first one is essentially a flashback to some point of his life. And so maybe this is him flashing back to when he was first told, I'm going to assume it's cancer. Is first told he had cancer.
Yeah.
And then that's why you have 2 weeks. So he's kind of remembering what it is, because that's late stage cancer is, unfortunately, that's basically a death sentence. It is. And so maybe that's where he's revisiting from us. But yeah, so it depends how you want to look at lyrics. It could either be that, or he's got 2 weeks to go. Now the whole song is him just kind of rolling through those 2 weeks.
Well, why don't we let the listeners decide by listening to Dead?
Do you want to listen to Dead? Let's listen to Dead.
I think we got to listen to Dead.
No, you got to say it right. No, it's Dead, because it's an exclamation point.
Here's Dead. That was Dead.
Dead.
I like Dead because when Dead is over, that was a question mark. That was Dead question mark. Let me try again. When Dead is over, then it goes into my favorite track. This Is How I Disappear, because it has one of, if not the best bridge I've ever heard in my life.
I agree.
What a bridge.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can pull it off. Like, I feel like nowadays there are many songs that are bridgeless because it needs to be TikTokified. And people just change their chorus into just the same chorus in another key. But like a good bridge, whoo, that will fuel me for like a few days. This song has the best bridge. It's in my heart and soul. Every time I hear it, I get the goosebumps.
I agree. I think this song is this song to me, especially coming off of Dead and kind of like this, the first two songs were like these new sounds I felt like for My Chemical Romance in a way. And this song to me is like classic My Chemical Romance, just the sound wise. It is just, there's a darkness to it. There's a drive that just like pulls you in. And like, yeah, when you get to that bridge, you're just like, I don't know, you just like, you could feel all that angst and upsetness and things coming through it, and it's like a perfect My Chemical Romance song.
Oh, Steph. Gerard. I just say he, capital he.
Right.
He Gerard was interviewed by Ian Gallagher from the Umbrella Academy for his YouTube channel, and he said that the Black Parade was the first time that the way that their guitars were recorded had ever been recorded. They call it like white guitar. And so the effects on, I don't know if it was a pedal effect or it was like changed in the production part of it, but that was considered a new sound. So that like for like guitar pedal nerds or just guitar nerds in general, like this is the first time this specific producer, Rob Cavallo, had used those guitars. And it was because MCR was like, we need to just make this album really big. And so they set the standard super, super high. And that's why I think it just sounds so incredible. It was like nothing we had ever heard, literally.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that might also add to, like we said earlier, like why this album always feels completely fresh the first time you hear it. It's like every time you listen to it, it's like the first time again. But maybe that's part of it. There's these details that went into the production that like make it just reinvent itself almost every time. I also like, and I talked about it a little earlier about the overall story of this album. What I also find makes this album so amazing is you could throw the story out and these songs all stand on their own. And then I think that a lot of times with rock operas and things like that, you almost need to listen to the whole piece to get it. But this one, I feel like every single song just exists. So like if you go to a My Chemical Romance show in 2023 and they play this, like you don't need the story. You just this song stands on its own in such a powerful way.
It's incredible.
Because each song, I think, like I love me a good rock opera. I really do. But I think you're right, Jeff. I think a lot of them you have to take in totality. When this one, I think every song is its own little chapter of a book. You know, it's got its own feel to it. Maybe it's like a book of short stories put together to make a rock opera out of it. Like, because this song, I always felt like he's talking to his wife, because there's a reference of Good Girls Go to Heaven. So I kind of feel like he's talking to his wife. And that I think he's dead because he talks about the seance down below. But the line I've always found interesting in this song is actually in the first stanza. Is there's things that I've done you never should ever know. I find that such an interesting thing because I think that has weight on the rest of the album. I think that's all the bad shit he has done.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe during war, because war comes up later, or just out partying with his friends, like in the next song. That there's a lot of bad things he's done. That he's kind of hoping the seance doesn't bring that, his wife doesn't learn about it during the seance, because that'd be kind of a fuck way to do it. What do you guys think of that? Who do you think he's talking to? Am I off base? Who do you think he's talking to?
No, I agree. I think he's talking to some lover of some sort who he's hidden. I think you're right. There's a lot about, I guess when you die, like a lot of, how most, even if someone's an asshole, people are always saying nice things about them when they die.
Right.
Yes.
But then also some people like, don't disparage the dead or whatever. But also a lot of like secrets can come out too that you don't want. Like, let's say you just have a journal collection you've been doing your whole life. When you die, that someone can find those journals and they're going to hear your innermost thoughts, whether you want it or not, right? So I think you're onto something with that, where like he's like, without you I disappear. Is he just kind of be like, let me disappear? Don't try to like dig into this.
Yeah,
don't
disappear.
Right. Yeah, don't check the file on my computer that says tax returns 1997. That's not what you think it is.
I didn't even file taxes back then.
I think I did actually.
I saw this theory online where someone was like, what if this character, the patient, is actually one of the demolition lovers from Three Cheers? It's the guy. But it's like, well, but that album ends with they gave us 2 shots to the back of the head, so it's probably not. And then someone's like, well, what if it was like their son? And it's like, oh, that could be cool. I mean, we don't really know who it is, but I want to know what he did.
Yeah.
I'm like, go into a little more detail. Tell me a little. I mean, did you guys listen to the B-sides?
Yeah.
Because I feel like they don't necessarily fit as well but there's a little more violence to those.
Yeah, we'll kill all your friends, and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit
Um,
bit violent. Very very Clockwork Orange. Which actually would check out for Gerard. That would check with Gerard. Kind of bringing in a Clockwork Orangey thing.
Absolutely. But yeah, this song rules, and then we kind of stay in this same tone a bit for the next song, I feel like.
Yeah.
The Sharpest Lives, which
See, because I think this gives you some of the hints that of the bad things that the patient has done. Because it's open there with because I spent the night dancing. I'm drunk, I suppose. If it looks like I'm dancing, it just there's that stuff because I love all the plays in the way with the boys and the band. I just feel like there's a the Romeo line. I forgot about that. I just feel like there's this tense macabre in this song of like these nasty things that I have or my friends have. I've seen. They may not have partaked specifically, but I've seen my friends do. A lot of bad stuff seems to have happened.
well,
Yeah,
these
the way
Sharpest
Gerard
Lives,
sings.
right? They're bad
The
news.
sharpest lives.
Yeah, and the delivery of how it's sung is different than This Is How I Disappear. This Is How I Disappear is a little softer vocally than
Yeah.
this one. And in a sense, it's kind of like when you code switch with like work people and your friends. It's kind of like maybe he's talking to his friends at this point. He was talking to his significant other, and the other one, softer, was just like, there are things that I've done that aren't great. And then maybe his like pals are here and he's like, dude, like, remember when you stabbed that guy? I kind of, it's definitely a who this is for type of delivery for me.
Interesting. Because the way it's a very different. Gerard sings it very vocally, very differently. Because the opening's kind of like this, like menace. Maybe that's the word I wanted before. Like there's like this menace to his voice, the way he talks the the opening part. And it's like I was just reading over the lyrics, like you can watch me corrode. I remember that line sticking out to me. I'm like, corrode is like that's bad. Like that's battery. That's not a good thing. So again, that's negative menace to it. But it's the way he pronounces words in the song and delivers them that makes it like I get very tense listening to this song. Like I'm like bad shit's gonna happen if I keep listening to this song. Like that's what I feel.
Yeah, it's also, I would say that the beginning part is also self-reflective in like a I hate myself kind of way. It's like, sure, the first few tracks I'm self-reflecting because I'm gonna die. And it's like, okay. But it's like, oh no, I'm gonna die. I did not do good things. I don't know where I'm going. And that's scary in itself, but also there's got to be some anger. I mean, could we say that some of these songs are like the stages of grief?
I definitely think so. Yeah.
I can see that. Yep.
I think the funniest part is that we're talking about this. We're like, could it be this? Could it be this? And Gerard's like, I don't know. I just like sang the song that day. I needed to eat a sandwich. I was hungry.
As my friend St. Jimmy, my friend James pointed out to me a while ago, and then we talked about one of the episodes, is that we live with these songs forever. But the writers who do it, like a week.
Yeah.
They just write them, they put them together, they arrange them, release them into the world, and then we consume them for the next 20 years. It's funny that looking back, having the idea of having the patient look back on his life is because I think the use of the word vampire here is interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's toward the end too, if I'm right, or somewhere toward the end. Yeah, you're in love with all these vampires, so you can leave this like the saying and abandon me. But like, because a vampire is it's not just drinking blood or anything. You can be an emotional vampire, right? It's taxing. I mean, so I just think I find vampire an interesting use there. Do you think he's a vampire? Do you think he's a vampire? Is this a vampire story? Is the patient a vampire?
I don't think he's a vampire. I think that like in these bad things that he's been doing, he's out all night with the vampires. You know what I mean? Like that's just kind of like the crowd that he's with and kind of like lost himself to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. It's a metaphor, not necessarily a callback, but it's funny because it is a callback. I like that.
Do you
Yeah.
think he's an emotional vampire for his wife, or or significant other? I shouldn't say wife, significant other.
I mean, in a way, we're all kind of emotional vampires to someone else, depending on how they are receiving us. Not to drop like total wisdom,
Whoa.
No,
like
no,
how-
drop it, drop it.
but like
I love it.
how we are perceived is not up to us. It's up to the person who's reacting to us in the moment. So I think like seeing it from that perspective, and you're on your deathbed and you're dying and you're ashamed of yourself. Essentially, this is a song about shame.
Right.
You're like, these people were the reason why. And then I'm the reason why. So it's like, it's a blaming kind of song. So yeah, he might have been calling them vampires on his deathbed, but at the time they're probably his friends. If we're going with that story.
That's interesting. I like that. It reminds me of I teach courses online, and one of the things I do with the students is imagine the worst thing you've ever done as a headline to a newspaper.
Oh no. Okay.
How do you feel people would perceive you? Like, so that's a very interesting because you're right. You can't control how you're perceived, really. Honestly, you can't, but you can control how you react.
Yeah.
That's true.
And he's reacting by going on a bender.
Going
And
on a bender.
yeah. So
Yeah,
Big one.
I mean,
not in a great place.
you get the
But
diagnosis, why not?
yeah, no, it makes sense. But yeah, I agree. I really feel the self-loathing a lot in this song. And it's interesting because if this is a low point of self-loathing, we're about to listen to a song that is the thesis statement of this album and maybe the band itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I easily.
Probably the most important song that they've ever done, never will do. I mean, it's just whether it's the best or not is one thing, but this song, we are talking about the song that lends itself to the title. Welcome to the Black Parade is the next song. And
Gino.
cue the G note. Yeah.
See, I'm gonna say there's two songs in another hot take, because that's where Phil lives apparently today. Two songs in music history. You need one note
Mm-hmm.
to give away the song. It's A Hard Day's Night by the Beatles, right? That one note plays and you know exactly what song this is. And this one fucking note from my MCR, and you know exactly where you are, right? Like it's just that's all you need. All you need is the one note. I love all the things on the Instagrams and TikToks where it's how to mess with a millennial, and they'll play the one note and like all of a sudden they're in the marching band costume. Like those are hilarious.
So good. When when we were in lockdown and Animal Crossing had just come out, that was what I put as my island song. And it's
Amazing.
ding, 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 and then it stopped. And I left the game after like a few months because I didn't like the grind of it. And I recently picked it up, and the clock tower rings at the beginning of every hour. And I was like, is that the Black Parade? It was like a gift from past me. I recognized it immediately when it happened. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't really realize how like deep in my bones those notes are to me. It's such an iconic song just in general, but like when that music video came out, it was like, oh shit, like this band we thought already was like amazing is just like, this is history at this point. This is like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame shit.
That video proved they were ready for not just arenas to headline those arenas, right? They're a big band.
Oh yeah.
Do any of you recall the debut of this song, how it was debuted at the MTV Video Awards? It was the Video Awards, right?
I have to share how nerdy I was. So I was part of the MC Army street team. And when this album came out, notoriously this band never really was like, hey, we have an album coming out. They were always do some like weird rollout. And in our case, anyone who was on the street team got posters that said the Black Parade in this font of the album cover.
Right.
And we were like, what is this? Like, what is it? The album name? Is it a song? We didn't know. And so our job was to like put it everywhere. So we put it everywhere. And then when it came out as a song they were performing at the VMAs, which was like the biggest thing at the time. Like nobody really cares about the VMAs anymore. But back then it was like, this is where you were on that Sunday night watching this thing. It was like, they've made it. This is huge. And I had a totally different reaction to Green Day, which was fuck them. And this one I was just like, they did it.
Yeah. You're like, I'm so proud of them selling out. Yay.
Yeah, oh my God. It was, and it like freaked everyone out that I was with. They were like, what is this? This is so scary and weird. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. That's why it's so great. I think, but this song, you just said it yourself, the song is scary and weird, which I'm not going to say that's the fan base, but like, it sort of is. Like but MCR became the refuge. If you felt like an outsider, different, like for me, it was great. This band would have consumed my life a lot more if I had met them younger. You know, as a man who was eventually diagnosed with ADHD late in life, later in my life, not late in life, like I'm 70 fucking years old, but you know what I mean? It's where I always felt different. Right. And if folks know, if you have ADHD and you know how I feel, I feel you, man. I always felt out of step, different, weird, not with the group. And what I've always loved about MCR specifically, punk scene in general, but MCR specifically, or emo scene in general, is they were an accepting band, and they were like, it's okay, come give us your weird and your scary, and we'll give you a place to come and be together. And again, I've said it a bunch of times in a lot of other episodes, it's community, not competition. This was a band about community. And that's what I love about it. And about this song in general, because that's what this song is about. It's individualism, but persevering in a group and being understanding that you're not alone.
Yeah. Would you say that My Chemical Romance is the savior of the broken, the beaten, and the damned?
I would 100% would say that. I 100%. I think they're a band who is like, we don't care what you look like. We're not going to kink shame. We're not going to body shame. We're not going to, who you want to love shame. Like, come as you are, and we are going to accept you for that. And that's why this band rules.
Agreed. Also, I mean, they even say, I'm just a man, I'm not a hero. Like, they do it in a humble way. Like, I never thought of MCR as like a conceited band. I never thought of them as like rock gods that like everyone wanted to be groupies for and stuff like that. Like, they were never those guys, which is why I love them so much. Like, I don't know if you have watched Life on the Murder Scene DVDs, but there was a show featured in that documentary that I was at in 2005. It was the Taste of Chaos tour. Mm-hmm. And one of the local bands, it was called Story Told. Fuck that band. They went around and with a video camera, because this was before camera phones, and they were telling girls, if you take your shirt off and do 10 jumping jacks, we'll give you a backstage pass. And like, girls were doing it, underage girls were doing it because they thought they were going to get backstage passes. None of them got backstage passes. They were just being creeped on by this horrible local band that ended up breaking up afterward anyway. But Gerard, and you can see it in the documentary, he was like, if someone ever tells you to do something that like makes you uncomfortable, or like, show us your tits so you can come backstage, you just like punch them in the face. And it was like, wow, violence, but to protect us actually was right. It was an incredible statement that he didn't have to make. And that's why we all like in the community felt very safe going to those shows, even if they were like playing with Killswitch Engage, who had like notoriously humongous fans. Like, we all took care of each other. We were in that little pod at the front of the stage taking care of each other while the like metal fans were going crazy, but we knew that in the end we were okay because that band cared about us. So it's like, when I heard this song after that had happened, I was like, they know, they are aware that they do this for us, and they're telling us we're going to continue to do that. And it's like a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful part of the history of something like terrible and gross that happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, that's indicative of the vibe they've always exuded. This is a safe place. My Chemical Romance is a safe place. And it's funny too, because the other thing that I think that makes them stand out, when it's all said and done in the history books, they look back on the 2000s emo explosion and all that stuff. My Chemical Romance always stands out because Black Parade is a perfect example. These songs aren't about like, oh, she broke up with me and now I'm mad, you know, and I'm just gonna whine about it. Like, they don't sing emo songs. Like, that's the funny thing. Like, they are like the poster child for emo, but like their songs are not about things that other emo bands are about.
No, there is no like cute is what we aim for vibe at all.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not hitting Gerard's not singing Dear Maria or anything. No, it's just he this is the album, man, where they're just like, we're a fucking rock band. And like because there's so many songs that are fucking rock songs. Like, they rock, you know. I think I even joked about it earlier. Like, they prove that they're ready for arena. Like, a lot of these, they're big songs. Like, they're arena rock songs. They're big songs. And I think this was the first album, particularly when this song dropped, it was illustrating that emo as a convention can be big, like big, right? It can be thoughtful and not just the perception. Again, we talk about perception a lot in this episode, but like the perception being a bunch of whiny bitches. No, that they can be thoughtful and have heart. It's about I love this line. I was just looking at it. Give a cheer for all the broken. Listen here, because it's who we are. So like, it's the band connecting with the community. That this is a big community. It's the big old MC Army. I love it. Love this song.
So cool. And it also shows that they're incredible musicians. Like, I personally think Ray Toro is one of the most underrated guitar players of our time. But it's because he's in this band that he's not getting his flowers.
And I saw that with 3 Cheers. Like, I'm Not Okay. The guitar work in that song is a lot more complicated than you think. He's an underrated guitar player. He is.
Well, I think I'm glad we're gonna sit here and just talk about how amazing Ray Toro is with guitar, because it is something like blows my mind that this band formed how it did. Like, it just because obviously Gerard is the visionary. He's the artistic genius behind everything, right? He said in an interview I read that he had planned out albums of the band, what he planned for each one to do. Like, he was so inspired by Bowie and things like that. Like, he knew what each era of My Chemical Romance, to steal from Taylor Swift, would be. And you have that, and then Frank is an amazing songwriter, guitar player on his own things. Mikey is just a brilliant bass player. Like, what are the odds of just your brother being this brilliant bass player? And then you find Ray Toro, who is this guy could have been an Iron Maiden. It's like
incredible. Right. Yeah.
It's
also,
really
he wrote the bass lines for this album because Mikey was unwell. So all those bass lines are not Mikey, I'm sorry to say.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he's just an incredible musician all the way around. I don't know if you listen to his solo stuff, but I was just like, there's something missing here because it's not the full band, but it's still really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is. They are all the secret sauce. They all need together, because like I enjoyed Gerard's solo album, Has an Alien, but I don't revisit that like I revisit this. It was good. It was like there were some good songs on it, but it's not what I think of. Like, I feel like, I don't know, you could listen to any band, right? You need these two people. Like, I think you need Ray Toro. I think you need Gerard. Those pillars of this band.
Yeah, and Brian May from Queen says that Ray Toro is one of his favorite guitarists. And if Brian May from Queen says that, you're very good.
Yeah, if a literal rocket scientist says I'm good at something, I'm gonna believe it. Let alone just again, one of the most amazing guitar players in his own right. But yeah, I think if Brian May said that about me, I'd be very excited for at least a day.
Yeah.
Well, I always love any Queen My Chemical Romance connection, because I mean, if there's any band in the history of like popular music, what Queen did for arena rock in their era is My Chemical Romance does their own version of that, right? Like it's not
Right.
it's not like they are the queen of today, but the way they, I don't know, their theatrics, the way Gerard controls the crowd, the way he performs.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly there was like some definite, I imagine, studied Freddie Mercury at some point.
Oh, for sure. I think Ray is gonna get his flowers after like another 50 years or something. It just bums me out because at the time they came out, emo wasn't super respected, but now that they're back, they're like, oh yeah, My Chemical Romance is really good. They're this legendary band. It's like, okay, but we need to focus and zoom in a little bit on Ray Toro a little more, please. He's just so like I mean, the opening riff to Thank You for the Venom on Three Cheers would be my baseball walk-up song if I was a baseball player. And I mean, all of his solos are just like, how did you do that, dude?
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
And he only got better, I feel like, too. And like, I don't know, I went to a bunch of these shows. I know Nadia did too, this past tour. And like, they sounded better than they've ever sounded before. Like, it's like, over the years, it's just like they've gotten, their craft has just gotten so much better at it. And Ray it's hard to not just watch him as he's like shredding and doing all this crazy stuff. And it's like, it looks so effortless to him. It's just like, I don't know. He's
the best.
I think we're changing this to the Ray Toro Stan podcast.
Well, the other thing I like about Ray, I'll say one more thing. Ray never wanted to do another band. He never wanted to do anything else but something solo. But he said, if somebody wanted to start a band, excuse me, I would only do it with MCR again. And so the only other thing that he had done of a live performance was with the Muppets.
Oh my God.
Like, he's a man of his word too. He's a man of integrity.
Which sums up basically MCR in general, just a band with integrity.
A band with integrity. And a lot of talent.
A lot of talent. Jeff, do you want to play this song?
I think we should, right? We have to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you imagine the hate mail I would get if we didn't.
You know, everyone knows this song, but I'm thinking, you know what? My dad's listening to this podcast. He may not know Welcome to the Black Parade well, so this is for my dad.
Hi,
Because my dad took me to see a marching band, and he said, "Son, one day you will be obsessed with a band from New Jersey called My Chemical Romance," and he was right. So there you go. So here it is, dedicated to my dad. Here is Welcome to the Black Parade. Oh, that song, iconic.
Do you know what the original name of the song was?
The Five of Us Are Dead.
Dying. Very good.
Good job. Yeah, I didn't know.
Dying.
I just learned this recently. I read an interview with Gerard. Apparently, parts of this song was written way back when. Like, they've had this song around for a while. He said it was just like the more punky version of it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they kind of like found the elements to make it fit here. But it's like, it feels like it was made for this album though.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it's been around for so long in their history, it makes sense to me why it is such a definitive song for them.
I'm glad they weren't like, let's just put it on.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Guns N' Roses for November Rain. They had that song forever. And they tried to record it like 4 times and they can never get it right. Well, at least they said they can never get it right until finally they got it right with Use Your Illusion 1,
Maybe
2, 1. I'm gonna go with 1. I think it's 1.
The point is, Ray Toro was a better guitar player than Slash. I'm saying.
There's a hot take.
The first time I heard November Rain was because it was referenced in that Regina Spektor song.
Amazing.
Amazing. Jeff, I don't love you. I'm just kidding.
More?
I don't anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
You just don't love me. Okay.
Yeah. That's a hot lie. That's a lie.
I submitted a headshot to be in this music video, even though I was in high school. I wasn't an actor, but they put up on their, because they were the only band that would write consistent blogs on their website, and they were like, "Hey, we're looking for someone to be in this music video," and I was like, "I will submit." And they're like looking for someone with big eyes. So I put like a lot of like white eyeliner on, so it looked really big. Obviously, I did not make it, but I tried.
Hey, it's important. The important thing is you tried.
I tried.
Also, wasn't this video not like technically released in the US? Like, it was like I don't know. It felt like
it was released, but nobody liked it. I mean, this is not a great follow-up to Welcome to the Black Parade.
No, it's well, yeah. It's definitely the
I didn't even know it was a single. I'll be very honest. I didn't even know it was a single. I was researching this. I was like, this is a single? I don't know, guys. I mean, maybe.
I mean, it feels very like a record company, like we got to put out the ballad now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But it's such a strange ballad. It's like the anti-ballad ballad, right? Because like he's like trying to convince the patient is trying to convince his significant other, go away. Yeah. It's gonna be better for you if you do. Don't like me anymore because I'm not likable. I'm something not worthy of being liked. But honestly, this way you won't feel so bad when I finally expire. I mean, it's the anti-ballad ballad.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna say something controversial yet brave. I don't think this album is non-skippable. This is a song that I often skip.
Oh, a skippable song. Wow.
A skippable song.
Skippable song.
No album is perfect. Let's be very honest. No album is perfect.
I do think of MCR, 3 Cheers is a non-skippable album.
I will say that. But also, again, that's not saying, but not saying it doesn't have flaws here or there. You know, some of the songs, sure, right? No, they can have. So never a thing is a perfect album. Anybody who says that, like they're trying to sell me something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think non-skippable, 3 Cheers, lots of skips, Black Parade. I'll get to
lots of skips.
I'll get to the skips.
Wow. Okay.
I think the first 5 tracks are untouchable. When we get to the back end, it's like, meh.
It's funny because I'm usually more of a fan of a B-side versus the A-side. I always feel like the B-side's a better side oftentimes because usually they put the singles and crap on the front. So that's what everybody wants. Right. This is a song I will skip. I will go boop and go right over it.
Jeff, is this a skippable song?
Yes, only because I like to listen to My Chemical Romance when I run, and a slower ballad doesn't really get the blood pumping as well.
It doesn't syncopate the heart rate, so you got to like slow it down a little bit, get your breathing back.
I will say for this one, yeah, it's probably like the exhale after the Black Parade. I mean, you're coming off the Black Parade, which is like
tough to come off of. It is.
Tough to come off of.
That's true. I'll give you that.
This is, if you're listening, I mean, remember when they played it live, they probably needed this song after playing Black Parade, right? You know, like
so did the crowd. Big
time. The crowd did, right? It's kind of this moment to like catch your breath a little bit. But I also really love the final thing when you go, would you have the guts to say I don't love you like I loved you yesterday? I don't know. That's just a very like,
yeah.
It's like it's painful because it's like it's not just I don't love you. I don't love you like I did yesterday, which means the love is diminishing. It's going away, which is a really, you know, the love is dying.
My favorite line is, so fix your eyes and get out. Because that's like, I understand. I wear a lot of black eyeliner. Also, I went on a Hinge date with a guy like 3 years ago who had that tattooed with like anime eyes. And I was like, I might fall in love with this dude. Spoiler alert, I did not.
Well,
I feel like that's
cool.
That was either going to be a really cool thing or like a really red flag. Like, I don't think there's no gray.
He was an indie MMA fighter, so definitely red flag.
Definitely. Okay. So there was, I mean, I like the indie MMA fighter who has the My Chemical Romance lyrics, though. It's
pretty cool.
It's an interesting cross section there.
Yeah, it's a great line. I think Gerard as a songwriter is not just a songwriter. I think he's also a poet, and a lot of the things that in this specific album, I'm just like, it's like the imagery is so beautiful. He really knows how to paint a picture and also perform it in a way that makes us feel an emotion. Again, I do think that he's performing this like a lot more aggressively than a normal ballad.
Yeah.
It's the anti-ballad. No, he's very theatrical. He really is. Yeah, he is.
This is jumping ahead, but there is another ballad later in the album.
Skip.
It's interesting. Sad.
Skip too sad.
Too sad. Well, we're not skipping yet because we go to the House of Wolves.
Yeah, let's go to House of Wolves. House of Wolves.
Okay, Bob Breyer coming in with one of the best drum fills to open up the song. Woo! Oh my gosh, those toms. Oh, God.
I feel like House of Wolves would sit nicely on Three Cheers.
Yes, agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like it would almost have been like a song they had recorded for 3 Cheers. We were like, no, you know what? We don't have room. And they held on to it and they were like, no, this kind of fits, because you're right with the Tom. It's got that, it's like the I forget which one, it's the Western song on Three Cheers. It's
Hang
got
in
that
mind.
kind, yeah, hang on, thank you. It's got that same kind of vibe going there. But yeah, it just, I feel like this song could have lived in either one of them, but I like it here.
It could have
Because-
been on Bullets, but just like poorly done.
Right.
You know, we actually lost out on this song. This was supposed to be a single and it was supposed to have a video, but apparently they ran out of money for the budget because of all the other videos they did. But there was a
Yeah.
plan for this, and all I remember hearing Gerard say about it was Grant Morrison, the iconic comic book artist who later does play a villain in a Danger Days video, was supposed to be the devil or something in this video.
That's interesting.
I wish I could have seen the treatment. I wish I could have seen what this video would have been.
That would have been amazing. I want to see Gerard's art.
Yeah, because you know he drew it out. You know
Oh,
he.
yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God.
This is such an interesting song because I think going back to the story aspect of it, for me, this is the patient kind of coming to terms with like, I am going to go to one of two places in this context here of heaven and hell. But I'm pretty sure I know which one I'm going to.
Yep.
Pretty sure. Yeah, yeah, because he even says like, tell me I'm a bad. It's four bads. Bad band.
Yes.
Sounds like a candidate for heaven. I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
Yeah.
It's
It's the self-loathing again. It's like,
Yeah.
Kick Me Like a Stray. It's just a lot, but it's also very Frank forward because Frank is the punk.
Yeah.
And like Ray brings the metal element to everything, but this one is like Frank's time to shine, and it's really fun. It's really good. When they played it at night 3 of LA, I went to all of them. When they played it during night 3, I was like, I don't think I have seen them play this live since the Black Parade tour. Like even when they would do, a mixture of things later on, it was just like, I have only heard this in the context of this album start to finish. When it's played kind of randomly, it's like, oh, this is so intense. It's amazing. It's really, really cool to hear it on its own.
I had a similar thing. They did play it. I remember the Danger Days release day. They played at the House of Blues in West Hollywood, and I went to that show. And it was one of the songs they threw in the set, and I was like, it totally threw me off guard because I'm like, again, same thing. I've always thought in the context of the Black Parade, to hear House of Wolves just as like a band, an album, a song that just to jam out to, was like, oh wow, this song rules.
It's so cool. It's a standout for me for sure. It's a non-skippable song. It's a do not touch this radio song.
I also,
unless you're gonna make it louder.
Yes.
well, you can't skip also. I think Gerard's vocals on this song are just so like down and dirty rock and roll. Like, you know what I mean? It really feels like, oh, we're going into like real, like, I don't know, like gutter rock, like you're better run like the devil because they're,
that part. It's always that part. That part. Would you say there's like a 70s rock feel to a lot of these songs, particularly to a song coming up in like 3 songs from now? But there's definitely like a 70s rock riff oriented style they did with this album. It's very, like I said, it's them learning and growing as a band. This one, I like that we're starting with this one, Jeff, because I'm like, let's start with the biggest album by this band, because it's like it's them grow. This is like they're growing. This is a mature band at this point, which is amazing considering how young they would have been at this point, with a mature sound, taking on a very complex topic, but making it very approachable, pop worthy almost. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go crank this song.
I think it's wild to think that they had a fan base that already existed and then got this whole new fan base that was into pop music. And so this fits for both of those types of people. And it's very impressive song.
No, it's the 70s rock thing is interesting because, you know, famously or infamously, the follow-up to Black Parade was supposed to be this like the opposite of bombastic, huge rock opera. It was supposed to be down and dirty 70s rock style, which became Conventional Weapons, which they later released, which they wrote the whole album, which is amazing, and they scrapped it because I guess at the time Gerard's like, this isn't big enough. This isn't what we do. We don't strip it down. We do something else huge. I think it was kind of like the thinking of it, but like eventually release Conventional Weapons. So I think this song really starts to put in direction of what the Conventional Weapons album would have been.
Yes, this is like Boy Division's brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Boy Division is the greatest song ever made. So
ever made. We agree on this.
Yes.
Reminds me a lot of what Nirvana. This is the second time I didn't bring it up before, but this is the second time I thought about Nirvana in context of MCR, because when Nirvana put out Nevermind, it was a huge album, and they were like, all right, next album they quickly put out Insecticide, which does not sound anything like Nevermind. It's great. It's really raw stuff. A lot of stuff's just B-sides, and like they kind of purposely wanted to do that to kind of like be unpopular, I guess would be the best way to do it. It's interesting to hear that. The first time I didn't mention it, but we would talk about how MCR is very women forward, like watching out for them at shows. And I remember this one time, Kurt Cobain was in Brazil, I think Nirvana was in Brazil, and he saw like some woman was being sexually assaulted, and would call out them, and basically was like, look, if you guys keep doing that, we're going to stop really doing much of the show. And they kept going with it. So they would play the song, but all Kurt would say is, hey. So he would do the lyrics like, hey, 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 hey. That was all he would do, just to annoy the crowd, so they would stop doing what they were doing.
Wow. Hell yeah. That's awesome. I love when they're like, okay, I guess I'm in a position of power. Let me actually use this for good.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. House of Wolves is a great time, but I think we need to get serious here. Talk about cancer.
Oh boy.
Skip too sad. Absolute skip every
100%. I can't. I honestly can't do this song. I really can't. And you know why? It's because Gerard is such a good writer.
Mm-hmm.
God, man.
You know they played this on SNL, right?
Yeah. Did they really? Yeah. Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
The first one was Welcome to the Black Parade, and then the second one that happens in like the latter half that everyone already like has turned it off.
Yeah.
Where all the bad sketches are, they're like, let's just do cancer.
I don't know, that's such a punk rock thing to do. It really is. But it's just, this song it's so heavy. And
yeah. I will, that line, baby, I'm just soggy from the chemo, is like that feeling every time I hear those words, like soggy from the chemo. Oh my God. It's just.
No, can't do it. When they played it live at night 3, I was like, just tears. I was like sobbing. It was just like every single time that I had skipped it, they were like, we're going to harness that power and use it to make you cry right now. And I did. I was just a complete mess. And it makes you think about all of the people you've lost in your life. I'm like, I don't want to think about this while I'm driving my car.
Well, skip. Also because like, what's the hardest part that they bring out in the song? It's not the chemo.
No.
It's not telling people, I'm dying or whatnot. It's none of that. It's literally saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Like in leaving you. That's the hardest thing. I mean, dude, that's so thoughtful and so honest and candid and honestly brutally sad. Like that really is. This is like kicking puppy kind of sad. So skip because I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it.
I like that we're skipping, not because we don't like it. It's just because it's too much. It's too much.
So
it's
good
too much
that we have to.
Yeah.
It's cute because it's not cute, but during the reunion tour, now that everyone has a camera phone and can upload it immediately, when or just do a live stream. I would watch some of the live streams for the UK shows just to see what they were like. And when they would perform Cancer, Frank was always on the side of the stage, and the Frank girlies would be focused on Frank, and Frank would always be crying. So I'm like, okay, the band is not immune to this song either at all. I don't know how Gerard even gets through it.
I don't think I could.
Well,
He's
the
like,
other part of it
"Let's
is
skip."
it's his words, but it's his performance too, singing this. Like it's just like it's
It's the combination. It's the way he look. Gerard's a great vocalist. He really is. And if he's going to use Freddie Mercury as a role model, that's a great role model because Freddie Mercury is one of the greatest vocalists ever. And I think the way Gerard delivers this song, it's very naked. It's very raw. It sounds like the patient has come to terms with the finality of it all.
Mhm.
And it's sung from that perspective.
Yeah.
Like with that, I know, this is what it is. It's so honest and skip
Yeah.
because it's not a bad song. It's probably
not a
one of
bad
the
song.
best songs they've
Yeah.
ever written. But it is skip because it is too much to digest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's no
it's so-
wonder that they all were just unwell while they were recording it. The album.
Right.
Well, speaking of recording it, why don't we take a little breather from Cancer and talk about the history of the recording this album? Because
The haunted
apparently the mansion in Los Feliz in Los Angeles, the Paramore, is where they were writing most of it and
mansion.
coming up with it while they were out here in LA recording it. And this place is this mansion that's like, I used to live pretty close to it, and like finally one day it was like I should go see it, but you can't really see it because there's like a big fence and everything, but kind of like peeked over the fence. But yeah, so it's like basically a haunted house.
Oh,
And they used the dark spirits who took the house, and a lot of weird stuff apparently happened while they were kind of writing and recording this.
Yeah, like
I'm always fascinated by that kind of like making an album in a place. It's like, to me, like Downward Spiral by the Nine Inch Nails was written and recorded in the Sharon Tate murder house.
Oh, I didn't
Oh.
know
Which is
this.
like crazy to like what? So this is a little different because this one's just a haunted mansion, but apparently that got into their bones while they were writing this album.
Not haunted, but it reminds me of Slipknot doing Iowa, where they recorded it in like this in the middle of an Iowa summer,
Oh no.
which is apparently very hot. I've never been to Iowa, so I don't know. I'm not a Des Moines kind of guy, I guess. Sorry, Des Moines.
Wow, you're gonna get letters from Des Moines now.
Yeah, that's so.
I really hope that someone sends a nice letter to you just to balance it out.
Every once in a while, it'd be nice. No, but they did that album in a house that had very little insulation. It just so basically the house was hot as hell, and that's why that album sounds a lot heavier than others. So I've heard.
Yeah.
I'm a peripheral Slipknot fan. I'm not a deep dive Corey kind of person, but yeah, maybe they'll pop up for this show. Jeff, maybe we'll do Slipknot down the road.
I don't see why we wouldn't.
I don't see why we wouldn't.
We have to wear masks though the whole episode.
Oh wait, then I'm not doing it because I'm not wearing a mask.
Mama.
Let's go. Here comes Mother War. Goodness gracious.
This song, I mean,
is this a polka style? Like, is that what it is?
it kind of feels kind of polka in the top.
Yeah, it's definitely yes, I think that
Yeah,
so good. So
Weird Al Yankovic has missed out on a huge opportunity to do this song.
He should have been on the accordion with Liza
Yeah.
Minnelli.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, if you had Weird Al and Liza Minnelli, forget about it.
Huge. Well, also the time signature on the song is totally different. The drums sound totally different. It's just like a completely different thing. And it's like, yeah, we're going to talk about war, but you're going to have a great time.
This is the song that makes me think of The Wall, of Pink Floyd's The Wall. Like, this is how big this song is and how many characters are in it. And although I think it's a sad song in the end because it's about the mother, Liza, coming in, saving the day, kind of regretfully realizing they're never going to make up, and be a mother-son combination because he's like, no, we're all full of lies. we're all gonna die. I mean, it's just God, what a good song. This was when I saw them play this live at the first show of their tour. This was the most amazing delivery of this. It was so loud, and the siren they would play in the background was like almost deafening.
Well, that must have been so cool because it was the first time they did it, so there was no like, oh, we got to do this again.
No, it was yeah, because I saw the freshest of the tour. Because I imagine after a while, having to wear doing the same set list every time, having to wear the costume the same time every time, that's got to get to you after a while.
I think so. I think that's probably why Gerard wore so many different costumes this time around.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta mix it up a little bit.
I also love though, like it's only Gerard now in costume. Like he doesn't even he doesn't force the rest of the band to do it. Like when I saw them last, like Mikey was wearing an Alkaline Trio shirt and Gerard had white pupils in his eyes and blood splattered on his face and gloves and humps on his feet. Like
so good.
Checks out.
Like, yeah, I just love that. But yeah, I think so. But Mama has been a staple in their set since. Like they always play Mama, and it's always amazing. It's just on the Liza Minnelli front, I can happily say that on the Danger Days tour, I went to the shows in LA, and some reason went to the shows in New York as well. I'm a madman. At the show at Terminal 5, the first night, Liza was there in attendance. She didn't perform, but she was there.
Oh my God. Can you imagine Liza Minnelli at an MCR show?
She was up in the little balcony VIP area, so she wasn't in the crowd. But
I didn't know she was actually a fan.
Well, no, I guess they had never actually met in person because he was in New York and they were in LA when they recorded it. And I think that night she came out to actually meet them in person for the first time. And then she went to the show. So
I love this.
I have seen My Chemical Romance with Liza Minnelli is what I'm saying.
That's amazing.
What do you think she thought of him?
I think she probably loved it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, her vocals in this, by the time we get to the crescendo of this song, it's like she's in it, right? It's like she is going full Liza Minnelli with her voice in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she wouldn't have done it. I don't think she would have done it if she didn't know something about them. Unless it was like, I'm pulling a few strings because I know Liza Minnelli from someone on MCR's team. But like, just looking at the band, I'd be like, yeah, these guys seem kind of cool. Let me try it. They seem theatrical. This goes with my brand, I guess. But my favorite part of this song is that all of their moms are on the track.
Yeah.
It's very cute.
All the mamas.
All the mamas. Well, it's not 4 mamas because 2 of them have the same mama. So 3 mamas.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess that's true.
That's true. Going for the story part of it, I find this is a very interesting add to the general story because I'm like, what happened at this war? Like, because I don't know if the patient was amputated or had, but definitely some drama or something happened. There's a PTSD thing, which made me think there's a connection between this and The Sharpest Lives, is the overindulgence, self-loathing. Like, I wonder if he saw stuff, which also makes sense given the time frame in which this was written, because at that point we were on Iraq war and we're 50. We were getting into like Afghanistan again, like, so like I was actually thinking about for MCR's world growing up, we probably were always at war their entire existence, because I remember the first time they talked about war in my life was 90 with the Iraq war, where Iraq invaded Kuwait. It was 90, 91, somewhere around there. But I feel like once we get to the start of the millennium, like war is a constant thing the kids now grew up with, that we're always at war with somebody. It's very strange to think about in that concept. But I wonder if that has played into them, because I know Thursdays talked about that in a couple of songs. But I was wondering if, maybe that's where it started for them, was that.
Well, there's an anxiety that's built into this band just in the fact, I mean, their origin story is basically 9/11, right? Like Gerard was going to the city to pitch to Cartoon Network.
Marching band.
Yeah, well, yeah, go to the city to see marching. Well, he went to the city. I think he was like pitching to Cartoon Network or something. Like it was like
Yeah.
And he saw the planes go overhead, and you know, I mean, I'm butchering the story, but basically it was kind of like this moment of like, I need to do something important, because he was really like shaken, as so many people were, everyone was, and he was there, and then that kind of led to him starting My Chemical Romance like right afterwards. So I think that anxiety of living in a post 9/11 world where like suddenly like for US, it was very, before that, never really felt attacked, and suddenly we're attacked, and it started all these bullshit wars and all this stuff. So
Don't say that about the people who lived through Pearl Harbor.
well,
Definitely. I mean, there are like some generations of peace. So
yeah, I think at least for like this generation, it was the first kind of like like we didn't know Vietnam, we didn't really know what that was like. So like this was kind of like where the era where they were born out of.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting the way that the song has evolved, because more recently, the trans community really likes the song, the part of the song where it's you should have raised a baby girl, I should have been a better son, and then the part about the chest, the tape on the chest or something, I forget what line that is, because a lot of people are like, oh, like this is actually the trans anthem for us, and it's like, wow, I can totally see how they can identify with it. And also Gerard talking about how he would kind of express his more feminine side with the band and everything, and now looking back on it retroactively, it's like, oh, this totally makes total sense. So there's definitely a lot of what I'm assuming or perhaps projecting onto Gerard, of just like a lot of like, this is what I could have done had I known better, as the theme of the song. And let me just kind of paint this picture of war around it. But just in general, it's like, you can't not relate to this. In what I mean, obviously, there's a whole community that's like, yeah, this is bigger than even Gerard even knew.
Yeah.
Well,
he hit on something that, again, as My Chemical Romance does, it's like they're sending messages out to everybody, right? Of all people, all different communities, and like, yeah, that makes sense. It would reach. It would.
Nelly.
Yeah.
That gets to our parents' generation, I think.
I think we should play this one.
I definitely think we should play Mama.
Yeah.
All right.
Folks at home, crank it.
That was Mama.
Not Papa, but Mama.
I'm reading the unofficial biography that was written by a guy that interviewed them like 1,000 times. And the reason why they signed with Warner Brothers was because Warner Brothers was going to let them be weird. And so I think it's really funny that like Mama is technically their weirdest song, but it's the one that everyone really loves. And it's like, yeah, if they hadn't like sold out or whatever and gone with like the really big, huge record label, they wouldn't have been able to do this album at all. It's really, really cool how it all worked out for them. They were like, okay, who's going to let us be very weird?
What I find astonishing about this, because Jeff, you just relayed the story about Gerard, it was 2001. This album is 2006.
Yeah.
And that was September of 2001. So really toward the end of the year, right? So in the span of, this was 2006, the album came out in October. So solidly 5 years later, he went from that moment to this album coming out just over 5 years. That's amazing.
Yeah. This is where like the visionary thing comes back with like the fact that he was able to kind of like put this out there into like to be able to put a band together and if I have the right pieces to execute this vision. And as you said, in like 5 short years, 2 masterpiece albums, in that time.
Right.
I mean, not to be very radical, but this is what art needing resources is. If artists who like don't usually have resources on a consistent daily basis, like never get those resources, we would never get this kind of art. Not to be like totally punk rock about it, but like capitalism is a disease.
It's not great. Not great, Bob.
Not great. Well, that's where embracing the MC Army and MySpace and all that, and having all the you're part of the street team, like that is how there's word of mouth. This band got huge off word of mouth, and then
yeah.
that's how they got big so fast. It's astonishing. It's not a band you sleep on.
Oh, there it is.
There it
I
is.
say flash in the pan because then that means it's over at some point, right? But like it
Right.
started like a flash in the pan.
Right.
I'm assuming. I'm new to American idioms. I'm trying them out.
Good job. You did well done. Well done.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to Sleep.
Skip.
Which, going back to the recording of the album, I guess in this haunted Paramore house in Los Feliz, California, Gerard was having night terrors, and he
Terrible.
would record his descriptions of them into like a voice memo or something of the sorts. And thankfully they did that, because that's how we get into this song.
Strange, it's scary opening with that. Talk about the night terrors. I'm like, that's gripping at your throat. Like, that sounds terrifying.
Oh my
I'd be
God.
terrified if that's how I felt.
Mm-mm. Not for me. I don't like that. Yeah, I usually skip this one. I like the end, where how it gets very big.
Yeah.
And those are where those guitars that Gerard was mentioning in that interview were about. This is where they first recorded it. But like, this song is fine.
I agree.
Agreed. Story-wise, I think it's sort of important because it's him
Yes.
Addressing the regrets in life that he's had. It's story-wise, it makes and acknowledging that he's been a monster, because he said that a couple of times. The monster I've been. But yeah, I'm. It's not my favorite.
I feel like My Way Home is Through You or Kill All Your Friends would be really great in this spot.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's an interesting choice they made.
Yeah.
To do this one. But I mean, it does build, like you said, and like where it builds to, it's pretty epic. And
yeah,
I agree, the story points all work out well. But we don't have to go to sleep now. We can move on.
We can wake up and go.
We can wake up. Probably one of the greatest riffs they've ever written in Teenagers. Man, is that a good riff.
That's a skip from me.
Is it really?
Like
You don't like this song?
No,
I love it.
Every time I was at the show during this last tour, that's when I'd go to the bathroom. Because I'm in my 30s now. I got to go to the bathroom mid-show.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, we hydrate more now. That's part of
exactly.
You're sitting in seats, you're hydrating, you gotta pee.
Yeah.
But if you were a teenager, you wouldn't have to pee. You would just be
exactly. Or I could do what the kids are doing now in the pit and just peeing in the pit. That's a new thing.
Is that a thing that's happening?
Yeah, they were. That happened at the reunion show a lot. People were like, somebody just peed on me, but I can't move.
Ew.
Yeah, not great. But I personally
definitely not a fan of that. No.
I personally don't love this song. I think it's a great like single.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, this is my favorite MCR song.
I agree. I also find, and hopefully Phil, you'll be able to tell me otherwise, I feel like it's the one that makes the least amount of sense in the story of the album.
So it does. It feels like I love this song. I think it's a great riff just as a song. It does feel out of place. It's very like when September ends on American Idiot feels out of place. What I will connect it though for the story is
do it for us. This is no idea.
I'm gonna go. The only connection I'm gonna go with is that this is how folks perceive teenagers who are acting like they are acting in Sharpest Lives.
Okay.
All right, that's the only kind of connection I can kind of go with, right? Because it's this is obviously the song is about perception, how folks perceive teenagers to be, which is doing all these, negative, terrible, so many great lines. I think lyrically there's a bunch of funny lines, but I think that's really, it's the visual representation of how we're actually acting in Sharpest Lives, and that's the only connection I'm going to make.
I think that works. Oh no, that works. Do I have to go back and listen to it now with this context?
I think you might have to go. Yeah, that's the only, as far as the story goes, that's what I'll give you. Also,
the chorus of this song is just so fun. I mean, teenagers scare the living shit out of me. Like,
I mean, it's amazing. That's what I love about it. I guess I've always appreciated the tongue in cheekiness of it. Yeah. That it's just, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I think folks of a certain age, it sounds like a terrible movie. Folks of a certain age. Folks of a certain age would have seen me as a teenager and been like, "Pfft, this fucking guy, and then that would have been how they saw me. Maybe that's why I connected with it, because I was a bit of a delinquent.
That's fair. I think just because the structure of the song, it's a pop song
Total pop song.
compared to where it is, like compared to the 2 songs before it and the 2 songs after. It's like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean?
I do. There's all, yeah, I do. It feels like the one thrown in to be a single.
Yeah. Yeah. Which a lot of people argue is what I'm Not Okay is for the 3 Cheers concept, but they drop the concept in the middle of it. So some of it's a concept album, some of it's not. This is fully a concept album. Like, you can't do this, but they did. So a lot of people love it, and I don't want to like talk shit on the song because it still is a good song. I just am not. I'm a skipper. This is the one I skip. This and
Jeff,
Saying on Danger Days. Bye.
do you skip this song, Jeff?
I don't skip this song.
This is a good running song.
It's a great running song. It's got this jingly jangly, like, I don't know, like square dance to it. I don't know. There's something about it that's like nearly a country song at the beginning. I don't know. And the video was fantastic. It was a great video. It's a fun song, but again, I think that if I was grading this though, if I was grading the whole work, I would be like, well, I don't really think this song fits as much, but
This is
You're
the
right,
song.
though. Great riff.
Great riff. It's the song on a curve, on the bell
on
curve.
the curve, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I'm just feeling bad that Nadia's so disenchanted by this song. So
Oh, yeah. Let's. Well, it's like like just Disenchanted is a song about ups and downs.
sure is.
Skip.
Much skip again. Oh, we're going right to the end.
I usually skip from what is before sleep? I usually skip from
Mama's
Mama to Famous
the
Last
end.
Words.
Right at the end.
Yeah.
You're just a sad song.
It's just sad.
With
songs,
nothing to say. Is that a self-reflexive line? Are they just saying this is a sad song with nothing to say?
I think it's really sad because of that part where it says, so you can watch all your heroes sell a car on TV, and then Mikey is like an influencer now. Like, it's like,
yeah.
What is it? To die a hero, live long enough to become a villain.
Yes.
Yep.
How many more weird pop culture references we're gonna get into this episode? This episode's been great with that. I love it. Yeah, this is it. For story-wise, it's looking back on one's life and the ups and downs, the duality of it. Patient is getting close to death at this point, which makes sense considering it's the second to last song. Jeff, what does that make it? If it's technically the second to last song, it's the
fake penultimate song.
There you go. Let's do that.
Because let's not be. Let's make sure we let the CD play out all the way at the end,
But
right?
yes, right. But if you were to looking on the back cover of it, this would be the penultimate song.
It would be the penultimate.
Right. I think Heaven Help Us would have been great here instead. But if Mikey hadn't whispered to everyone disenchanted while everyone was asleep, it wouldn't have made the album, because that is the lore around this song making it.
He really wanted this.
Yeah.
He went full Inception and was just like
full Inception. Disenchanted. Yeah.
I just did 2 Christopher Nolan movies in the span of 60 seconds.
Incredible. Yeah, but they also don't like playing it live, which is really funny.
That's interesting. It's funny. I just made this connection now, but it reminds me as like a relatable song to the Kids of Yesterday, which I do like to play live.
Me too.
Yes,
but
I think the Kids of Yesterday is the better song of these kind of like ballady power ballads.
Yes, but cut, paste, Heaven Help Us.
Yeah,
fit with the story well, I think.
That's true.
I'm talking about B-sides to folks who have never heard the B-sides. Those are on all streamers and YouTube.
Yeah, and you should listen to them. They're great. We're not going to cover them here, but you got a little taste.
We'd have to do another episode just for that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You know what? Disenchanted. Where the problem with Disenchanted really is it's the song before one of my favorite songs in the history of songs.
It's
Right.
so good.
And Famous Last Words, we'll just get to it because
Well, Disenchanted is not famous last words for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But and like the whole time listening to Disenchanted, I'm just like, oh man, get me to Famous Last Words.
Mm-hmm. Hence the skipping.
Can we listen to Famous Last Words first and then talk about it?
Please.
Yes, let's do that.
I need everybody to be on the same page as us. All right, here's Famous Last Words, the supposedly final song on the Black Parade. Do you remember the video for this song, Famous Last Words?
Sure do. I watch it probably once a week.
I love that the Black Parade video is this like huge spectacle of the parade, and then the Famous Last Words video is just the charred remains of the whole incident. Whatever happened, it's just them and fire, and they just look maniacal in like the anguish and pain in their performance of the whole thing. And the story goes, apparently they all got burned a little bit by the fire on set for this video. So,
Yeah, Bob got third-degree burns on his leg. Frank was going too crazy and he pushed Gerard down and tore his ligament in his ankle or something. So he had to be on a cane for a really long time. Like they were just like, this was their first performance video, straight performance. So
yeah.
they were like, well, we're gonna really go for it. And then they all just got hurt. Pinnacle of the band, for sure. It's the best video, in my humble opinion. Like Gerard is going off. It's so off-putting and strange, and I love it. It's so fun.
No, it's this is where like of all their videos, and it's so funny, you're right. It's just a performance video, and it's just them in front of fire and ruins. But like I get everything from this video from them. That powerful, unhinged performance that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's just chef's kiss.
Also, it's a really good song.
Oh,
I'm not going to say it's better than Welcome to the Black Parade because I don't want to say that, but it's on par with Welcome to the Black Parade for me.
I mean, I'll say this. I'm sure everyone has songs like this. This song for me is that song when, in like the most cliche emo way, if I'm not feeling good about things in life and I need to like a reminder that I can get through anything, this is that song for me. This is my pick-me-up song across the board, and it always works. And I just think it's just so simple and powerful. And when we get into like the lyrics and stuff, like when you get it, talk about bridges, the bridge in this is like,
oh my god, it's the part where I cry every time.
Yeah,
at a live
it's just
show or just in my car, which sometimes I have to skip because I can't mess up my makeup, which hurts. But on the way home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm going back to running, if like I've been running for a while and like I'm on the last 3 minutes, I need something, I throw this song on. It works for everything. It's just the song that gets me through any hardship.
It's incredible. It'll probably be the last song that I'll ask to hear on my deathbed.
Oh, how apropos for talking about this.
How apropos.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Phil, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Phil, you're so quiet.
I was enjoying listening to you two speak. So I just I think connective tissue wise, it's the sister song to Black Parade because it's again about individuality and uniqueness and all that, but again in the form of community. And I think this is one of those songs that lyrically illustrates that MCR is about the group dynamic, about community, about people being together. Because like I love the positivity of it. It's like almost like a hopeful note at the end of the album, right? Because he is, if Gerard can be unafraid, well, maybe I can be unafraid too. You know, I think that's the beautifulness and the simplicity of this song. It's just that aspect of it. That if you know, he's showing with. I think this is the really title line, with words I thought I'd never speak. So he's finally able to say whatever it is, and it doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be different for everybody. For the trans community, maybe it's seeing who you are, right? Who you know really for the first time and being unafraid to say that, or it could be someone who's homosexual is finally coming out. If you know, because it's weird that they have to come out. They shouldn't have to come out. I don't
Right.
come out as hetero, so why do you even come out as hetero? But whatever. But the fact that might give them the voice to do that. And I think that's what makes this song so great. I mean, there's so many elements of it that make it great. I love the opening of it. You know, it's like the edgy, the guitar work is just it's palm muted. But it's right to the core. And the way he's singing is very stern. Like, I'm sick of your bullshit kind of stern. So many more elements to it. Like the guitar work itself, the rest of it, this riff, you know, the in between thing, that part's amazing. The anthemness of the end of the song is amazing. So like this is, I'm going to say, probably a near perfect song.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe perfection is there's no something, but a near perfect song.
Mm-hmm.
That if this is how they went out, this would be a famous last word as a song. I mean, it just really is. But I think that's what I love most about it is it gives a voice to the broken, the beaten back in Black Parade.
No, I think you're 100% right. I mean, like, I think you hit it on the head. I mean, I'm not afraid to keep on living. I'm not afraid to walk this world alone. You know, like just saying that, like that's the empowerment, right? Like I'm not afraid. So, as you said, Phil, so you don't have to be afraid. You just take these words for yourself, right?
Right.
This is the gift that I'm giving you. And it doesn't matter if you're awake and unafraid, asleep or dead. Like it, it's no matter what state you're in, you can do this.
Yeah. Going back to what you said about Welcome to the Black Parade being MCR's thesis statement, I think this song is their thesis statement. Because before the song came out and it was just the Three Cheers tour that was happening, like the fans, at least online where I was participating, everyone was talking about how the band saved their life in some way, of like giving them something to look forward to mentally in their life. It was like, I'm going to the show. I have to like be okay and like go to the show. And then just like spiritually speaking, they have always said like, we are a band that wants to save your life. And it's like, okay, well, that's what the song is about. I think. And I think the reason why they wrote it was because Mikey wanted to leave the band. And this was the way that Gerard got him to not leave the band. And so he's just basically saying the ethos of the band to the person who's in the band. And it's like, yeah, we all get it. This is great. And when they played this at the reunion show, I didn't expect to get very emotional. I expected to be excited to see them and to like cry at the beginning of the show, but they played this towards the end. And I was just like a weeping mess, just hearing all of the voices in the crowd singing along to it. I was just like, oh my God, like they get it. I get it. The band gets it. Like this is like a very special song that makes people feel like this is a very special reason to be alive. It's I think this is their thesis statement.
You've won me over. I now that you're saying it like that, like, yeah, no, you're right. It is because exactly that. I mean, it's to sing this along with people live and to just be like, it's just, there's joy, there's hope. And it's how amazing that the end of the album about death is about living on, right? Like it's just being able to handle anything, like even death, right? Like that's like for I guess the character, right? Like the character can now accept death and be able to handle it, as opposed to like going through this journey. But yeah, but we listen to this song and you walk out of there and you feel like this is what My Chemical Romance is all about, you know?
Sure. This is, I mean, there's a reason why they're my favorite band. The song is what I would put this on the list. If I had to make a playlist for someone, like show me their best stuff, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to start with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll play it again.
Yeah, I'm just going to put it 5 times in a row.
5 times. Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I don't think you appreciate the song just yet. So we're going to make you play it another four times. I think I did that with a mixtape when I was a kid. I did like one song. You know what? I think I need to hear "She" by "She" by Green Day 5 more times because I don't think I really appreciated this song just yet. Spoiler: that's my favorite Green Day song.
Oh, perfect. You know what? When I do my little re-listen, I'm gonna start with that one.
There you go. Then we get in
To silence.
to silence for a
Yeah.
good few minutes, and you just like, I imagine, man, I would love to see a kid's reaction nowadays if you put a CD on and like it didn't stop. Because like, it's a haunted album, right? Is there anything going on? I'd be worried about what that stopped. It's still going.
Well, yeah, you leave the room, you go get a snack, you're like, you forget that you were listening to an album, and all of a sudden, well, here we should talk about hidden songs in general.
Oh,
Like you're
yeah.
getting like, I don't does
I tried to look it up before we did this, Jeff, and I think I think you're right. I think
They're
Jeff
done, right?
Jeff told me this was probably the last hidden track
it must be right? Like because
on a CD. Because I'm like, at this point, we're in 2006 on CD, right? Because in 2006, MP3s and streaming, or not streaming, not just yet, but MP3s are really taking over. I mean, that was like my height of my iPod. So I'm like,
Oh no.
this could legitimately be the last hidden track ever. And what a great one it would be. What a weird concept. What a weird concept. They're like, you know what? I don't think the album's done just yet. We're gonna throw something on, but like we're gonna wait like 3 minutes and then do it.
yeah,
I love
Because
that.
only the real ones will find it.
Right.
It was kind of like how when CDs were just coming out, albums would just loop. Like Circus Survives Jaturna is just a loop. You can just play it all the way through, and the end song goes into the first song, and there's no discernible like moment. And
That's
so it's
fun.
like, I miss that. We don't really get that anymore. But the hidden track thing, I didn't know that this was probably one of the last ones.
Probably one of the last ones. I mean, if not the last one.
I'm just guessing. I mean, I can't speak for every band who put an album out on CD from 2006 to 2009, but 2007 2009. But I don't know. It just what a treat. What a treat. And the song we're talking about is called
Blood.
But gallons of the stuff.
and bring us back to our cabaret of it all.
Yeah, this
Here is the
cabaret, this
song.
whole cabaret thing. It's got this.
Wow.
I mean, there's parts of the story that's in there. The patients in the hospital and the doctors and nurses and all that. But I don't think. I think this is a song about the industry itself, the music
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
It's a very tongue-in-cheek looking at the music industry in itself. They just want to give them blood. That's all they want.
Yeah, I do like the music video because they bring back the cheerleaders from I'm Not Okay vibe, which is fun. Which is their
Celebrated,
first
man.
Big industry thing. So yeah, I think, nail on the head right there.
Celebrate Muncie Gurneys.
Muncie Gurneys. I mean, that's just wow. That is a vision. But it's just, I think that's really what it's looking at the music industry and what you have to go through to get there. And
Well,
what a metaphor.
they all adore him, but it's quite alarming because he's such an awful fuck. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I always like that part. Oh, thank you. Very polite. But it's there's parts of it which is funny because if this is the patient did a lot of bad things, and I'm like, it's just kind of a funny way to bring the patient back in with, just give him a whole lot of blood. It's like, and it's funny, it harkens back to teenagers, doesn't it? A little bit.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it. Yep.
Well, maybe this is sung by one of the friends from The Sharpest Lives to the patient.
Maybe.
Mm.
I'll take that.
Okay. I mean,
Let's
it's
get to the
definitely,
stuff.
why is it here? I don't know, but it's fun.
I love it.
It's a fun song to have. It's just a fun thing to toss. It's a secret thing. Like, shh, don't tell anybody. Just to let it go and let it just happen. And
We just spent an hour deliberating on death and telling this epic tale, and now here's this fun little tune about.
I bet you Liza Minnelli liked it.
Maybe that's what sold her. She's like, oh.
Are there guitars on this, or is it just the piano?
No, just the piano, I think.
Yeah, I haven't heard it in a second.
And
listen to this.
And the way he plays it, it sounds like a Muppet way of playing a piano. Like, I guess it's like this kind of motion, which is just folks at home, as my arms going up like a Muppet, like I had a Muppet.
Rolf.
Yeah, like a Rolf. Yeah, that's a good. Thank you for saving me on that one. Because otherwise, I didn't know how I can basically explain that to the people who can't see me.
Well, concludes the album Black Parade. Phil, do you have any questions you want to ask us?
I sure do. Jeff, I'm gonna start with you. Just so this way we're not calling a complete audible. What's your favorite song on the album?
I mean,
Favorite song?
I think it is obviously Famous Last Words.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's probably my favorite song on any album.
probably. Nadia, what about you? Favorite song on the album?
Famous Last Words. Close second. This Is How I Disappear. Very close. Because if
Close
I want to
second.
feel some feelings, I'll listen to that bridge.
It's a trifecta. It's the best song on the album, with hands down. Famous Last Words, the best song on the album, hands down. Jeff, least best song.
Least best song. You know, it's funny. I was gonna say Teenagers just because I didn't fit the narrative, but you changed my mind on that, Phil. You fit
Okay.
it in me. So I'm both disenchanted with Disenchanted, and I also don't love you. I don't love you. So I don't love you.
I don't love you. Okay.
Okay.
Nadia, I assume it's gonna be one of the ones you skipped.
Yep. I'm gonna
yeah.
say Disenchanted.
Disenchanted.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, I'm gonna connect right there with you. I don't love you. I'm like, it's just move on. Just move on. All right. Now I think the hardest question of them all. What's the sleeper song? What's the song people sleep on?
Ooh, okay.
All right, Jeff, what do you got? What do they sleep on?
Well, I wanted to say This Is How I Disappear, but you know, Nadia's not sleeping on that one. So
I'm not.
So-
It's your opinion. You can say whatever you want. We'll go with that. This is how I disappear.
I'm just,
I no
I'm just
no no.
confirming what
Actually,
you're
I'm
saying.
changing my mind. I'm gonna say Cancer.
Cancer? Okay.
Ooh.
Did you guys know? We didn't mention this earlier, but I guess 21 Pilots did a cover of Cancer.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't.
Like
either.
that's the song you're covering. Okay.
Really? Of all the songs?
No, I think it's a sleeper because one, people are skipping it because it's too sad, and it's just so raw, and as we talked about, and it's intense, and it's brutal. It's a brutal song, and
Only word for it is brutal.
Also, 21 Pilots has a guitar player named Skylar, and his solo work is really good. You guys should check it out. I don't like 21 Pilots, but I like that guy.
Okay.
check out Skylar.
All right. Nadia,
Fast forward.
what is the sleeper song?
Sleeper song. I feel like most people appreciate the ones that I was like, oh, these are great. But I feel like the end transitioning into Dead needs a little bit more hype in general.
Yeah.
So you're saying the end? Yeah.
Yeah, the end into Dead and then Dead. So the first two tracks, just I always see them as one track.
Yeah.
I think they are slept upon.
That's like AFI with Prelude 1221 into was it Caustic?
Kill Caustic.
Yeah, Kill Caustic. Yeah, I feel like that's one song. I always feel like that's one song.
Yes. Also, it's the starting track, like as if we're seeing it as one track, two tracks as one. It's the starting one. It starts off the album, and everyone's like, "Yeah, welcome to the Black Parade." Yeah, famous. It's like, wait a minute, show some respect on the thing that's going to give you what the vibe is all about.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go with, based on the conversation, I'm gonna say Teenagers is the sleeper song because I did because I changed it. I originally had written The End. I did. I agree with you. I think The End is an overlooked song. But I'm gonna change it for the sake of this conversation, make it Teenagers.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm not saying I hate the song. I'm
No,
just like, what?
It does. It feels like the odd man out. And knowing Gerard, because apparently we're on a first name basis, is that I think everything he does is with intent.
Yeah.
So I think there's a reason why it's there, and I think I haven't fully figured it out just yet, because I think he's one of those artistic geniuses who just is a very high thinking person, and I'm not. So
Please, everyone, as a guest on this podcast, can I please come watch?
of
Yeah.
course, of course.
Thank you.
We'll do an in-person one.
Okay.
We'll do
I'll,
it.
I'll,
Is that
like,
the-
say anything? I'll just be sweating a lot.
Is that
Yeah.
the 100th episode? The 100th episode, Jeff?
Yeah, we're gonna record it in New Hampshire.
Perfect.
Mhm.
You heard it here
Over.
first.
We'll have to time it so that he's here, because I don't want to put him off or put him out by
No, we'll
making him
fly him out, and
spare no expense. We're gonna go, spare no
Yeah,
expense.
yeah.
Nadia, let me ask you another question.
Mhm.
If you were to summarize 4 bands that would showcase who you are and your love of the scene, what 4 would you put?
Okay, this is a great question.
Your Mount Rushmore, if you will.
Your Mount Rushmore bands. So like little album covers, don't have to be specific albums, but just the mountain range full of albums.
Okay, I wouldn't destroy the beautiful face of a sacred mountain for these bands, but I would say MCR, Circus Survive, Taking Back Sunday, and Sugar Cult.
Ooh, Sugar Cult getting up on the
Sugar
mountain.
Cult, getting up on the mountain. Sugar
I
Cult.
think Tim Pagnotta is one of the best songwriters of our time. He's written a lot of like recent hits, but I think one of the best songwriters of that era for sure. And I think they were really underrated. Go check them out again.
If you want to bounce off the walls again.
Exactly.
Bouncing
We're all
off the
stuck
walls
in
again.
America.
I love it. That's a great mountain. I like Circus Survive up there too. It's good.
Yeah,
one.
I mean Anthony Green is a really big part of my life. I love him so much.
Amazing.
TBS on there too.
TBS. I
Got it.
mean,
You got to think for acronyms.
yeah, TBS, MCR, CS, TBS, and S. SC.
SC?
It was
SC.
One word,
It's
right?
probably one word. Yeah, compound
I
word.
mean, you guys grew up Long Island, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Strong Island is how we like to call
Strong Island. Yeah.
Were you all Taking Back Sunday or brand new kids?
it. Both.
Both. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
it was both.
I guess it was less intense than it was in the Bay.
Well, I think also the rivalry happened so early on in there. Like it's so funny to me that rivalry story became like the thing of legends, because like it really didn't affect the bands at all. The only time it reared its head was when this is now becoming a Taking Back Sunday brand new episode apparently. But when John Nolan and Sean Cooper left Taking Back Sunday after the first album, they were good friends with Brand New.
Right.
That's when Brand New came out with the shirts that said
Mics
are for singing, not for swinging.
Yeah.
Which was I think at the time was more of a jab at Adam,
Right.
not the John and Jesse rivalry that's in the songs was water under the bridge by that point.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah. And at that point, Brand New and Straight Light Run were like buddies.
Right.
Yeah.
Going
Like Straight
against
Light Run's first tour was opening for Brand New.
Right.
Oh.
And then, and they were like the anti Taking Back Sunday because the singing, not swinging. Because Adam used to always do this in the shows.
He still does. When he
Still does.
MCR, I was like, he's still doing that. Good for him.
Still doing it. Yeah.
Although they had a really terrible set list. I think you should do a Long Island emo history and just talk about that, because that was such a big deal in California. It was like one or the other. These guys are terrible people kind of vibes. And it was like not that big of a deal after all.
It's so funny.
It's
I think we might have to do a deep dive on Long Island.
a deep dive on the Long Island bands. Unfortunately, we'll have to do a PSA in front of it, won't we?
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Sometimes this scene.
This toxic music scene.
Yeah, it's
But we're gonna
everywhere, guys.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Well,
But Nadia, where can people find you in the social media world?
I am a co-host of a podcast called Prolly Shoulda Known Better, where we celebrate comedy that has aged very poorly. You can find us at Prolly Shoulda, and that's Prolly Shoulda with an A at the end.
Excellent.
Oh, also,
we'll
I'm
tag
the
it.
voice of Yoplait. So if you hear a Yoplait commercial, the voiceover is me.
No, it's not. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
It's true. I don't have social media that's like public for people. I probably should, but I usually send them to our podcast and tell them that I'm on TV sometimes.
Yeah, everybody right now is Googling that shit right now.
Yeah, cool.
Yoplait.
Yoplait.
Give me some hits on that Yoplait YouTube channel. Maybe they'll bring me back.
We'll get you something. We'll get something. Nadia, thank you so much for sitting with us. I think, Jeff, we're all done, right? Time to tally up.
That's it. I think that's it.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun. I really appreciate talking about this to someone that's not my boyfriend, because I info dump on him constantly. And like none of my friends know what I'm talking about ever. So this is nice because you guys can say things back.
Yeah, it's like it's a community here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Community, not competition. Those are our famous last words. I want to say a quick thank you to our producer, my wife Megan, who always makes all the infographics and all the art and all that. And anything I create, I have to run by her really quick, and then she'll tell me why it's crap, and then she'll tell me how to do it better.
That's really sweet. Thank you.
Thanks. Till next time. Bye.
See everybody.